Use keyword tow truck today.
One last look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Monday morning. No accidents as of right now, which is good. There is, however, a tornado watch in effect until 2 p.m. across the Midlands. So be careful out there. Today's high is 71. Lots of strong winds and some storms this afternoon. So be careful as you are making your way around today. Tomorrow's high 52 and high 54 on Wednesday. It's your traffic and weather here on The Game.
Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game, WNKT Eastover, Columbia, a Cumulus media station. The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on 107.5 The Game app.
Oh, 9 o'clock on your Monday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Just Tyler Head along with you once again today. Again, Jack Veltri, after covering what he had to cover over the weekend, he probably deserves another couple of days off. But no, Jack down there in Florida for another day or so. He'll be back in here coming up on Wednesday, and we'll get his thoughts on everything that he's missed over the course of the past couple days. But thank you for tuning in. Tyler Head along with you again, hanging out with you solo for the next couple of hours here. As we got a lot to go over, but hopefully you had a good weekend. Weather was phenomenal, especially on Saturday. Wife and I went over to Salida Shoals and walked for a couple hours. It was nice. Didn't get sunburnt this time, thankfully. I actually did remember my sunscreen, so not feeling any pain today. So hopefully you guys were able to get out there and enjoy the weekend a little bit. And outside of, again, we got, as I just read on the weather forecast there, do have some tornado watches in effect in the Midlands for a while, and we'll certainly keep you updated. You also hear the EAS alerts here if anything does progress to like tornado warnings or anything like that. So certainly stay up and stay alert as we go through the day today, because, again, it's going to be very windy out there, even if there is no tornado. So plan for that accordingly. And, man, after the next couple of days, we get right back into the nice weather, which I'm very, very excited for. Darlington's this weekend, and it looks like it's going to be a great weekend out there to enjoy that weather as well. But outside of the weather being nice this weekend, there was a lot of sports on TV. We, of course, learned yesterday what the bracket's going to look like for the South Carolina women as they pursue yet another national championship. We'll certainly get into the breakdown of that and where their advantages and concerns might be. Let's hear from Dawn Staley last night at the bracket reveal party that they had here. They always have here. Hear from her as she prepares for yet another NCAA tournament coming up later on this week. They'll start their play coming up on Saturday. Last night we also got, really over the weekend, we got a great weekend of college basketball as the conference tournaments wrapped up. Some real surprises, some deep runs in the SEC tournament for teams like Ole Miss that their miracle ran out just a little bit too early on Saturdays. They took an Arkansas in a wild game that ended up going into overtime. And, of course, we got the full 68-team bracket reveal for the men last night as well. And, there was as much controversy as maybe we thought there was going to be. Miami of Ohio does get in. Auburn and Oklahoma getting left out in the SEC in the first four out category. So we'll certainly unpack all that as the show goes along. But, unfortunately, we do have to talk about Gamecock baseball. They started their conference slate over the weekend, taking a trip on down to Gainesville in what we knew was going to be a tough matchup, but I don't think we foresaw the weekend unfolding the way that he did. So we'll get into all of that right after our Sandstorm Pick Me Up.
Time to get hyped. Here's your 9 a.m. Sandstorm, sponsored by George Sink Injury Lawyers. Just call all nines.
It is time for your 9 a.m. Sandstorm Pick-Me-Up, brought to you by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you've been hurt in the car or at work, call George Sink now at 803-ALL-9s. So South Carolina goes down to Gainesville to open up conference play, and they come out of there getting swept. Now, if I told you that going into the weekend, I don't think that's something that would have shocked a lot of people because we've seen how this team has played so far this year. So going on the road in your first conference series, getting swept, not something that's outside the realm of possibility. In fact, I think a lot of you were probably expecting that to happen. But it's the way that it happened that makes this so frustrating, aggravating. I don't know what word you wanted to use to describe it, but it was not a fun 26 innings of baseball to watch over the weekend. And that started with Friday, right? Because if I would have told you going into Friday night's matchup that South Carolina would have a no-hitter through 9 2/3 innings, Josh Gunther would go out there and give you another stellar Friday performance. Alex Valentin would come in and do what he had done through most of his appearances so far this year, and Brandon Stone would come in and do effective cleanup work. Then you would have said, okay, well, Carolina's going to probably find a way to win that game, right? No. You couldn't manufacture anything offensively yourself. And you end up losing the game in 10 innings, extra innings. And I know Preston doesn't like to call it a walk-off. What many would consider a walk-off sacrifice fly there in the bottom of the 10th that netted Florida their only run of the game, right? And that set the tone for what the weekend was going to be, where you had good pitching performances for the most part, not Sunday. We'll get to that in a minute. But you couldn't hit the ball to save your life. And there were missed opportunities throughout that game where you could have made something happen. And one that people are really harping on from Friday night's game specifically is the situation in the ninth inning where, again, South Carolina had only had one hit up to that point with Talmadge LeCroy. I don't even remember what inning that was in, but it was early in the game, the fourth inning. Talmadge LeCroy had the single in the fourth inning. And again, Florida up to this point, again, top of the ninth inning, Florida had not had their hit yet. Will Craddock gets hit by a pitch as the first batter. So you've got a runner now on first base. KJ Scobie comes up, runner on, no outs, top of the ninth. All you need is a run. It's a 0-0 ball game. Scobie works the count to get to 3-0, and he ends up swinging at the 3-0 pitch, pops up shortstop. You got one out in the inning, and that's something that, again, a lot of people have been going back to over the course of the weekend in terms of everything that went wrong, and Paul Mainieri gave his defense of that situation after the game on Friday.
Yeah, I gave him the green light. And, I just felt that our best chance to score was to let KJ swing and try to hit one out or hit one in the gap. Obviously, the hitters after KJ hadn't done much all night, and we had a lot of strikeouts. And he's your guy. He's your cleanup hitter, and he's your power hitter. And he was going to get a cripple pitch. I mean, if you can call a 98-mile-an-hour fastball a cripple pitch, but he was, he had to come into him, and KJ was just a tad late on the pitch. And but I don't regret that. I think the next two hitters didn't do anything, and even if we'd have walked or whatever, got the guy in the scoring position, we didn't get anything there. But no, if I had to do it all over again, I'd have him hit again. I've given him green lights a lot in 2 years, and usually he does some damage. You guys just beat him a little bit with that fastball.
So I played baseball for over a decade, up into high school, and look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was Hank Aaron by any means, but I was a decent hitter, and I understood from a young age at 3-0, you stand there with the bat on your shoulder. You make him throw you a strike. And Mainieri's defense there, well, nobody else behind him was really doing anything because, again, you haven't really had anything but one hit all night. I don't think that's a strong enough argument, especially, and I get it, the butterfly effect, you change one thing, then a bunch of other things changes, but if everything else stays the same after Scobie flies out there with a runner on, then you could have played it a run, right? So Craddock gets hit by the pitch. You got a runner on. Let's say Scobie ends up drawing a walk. So now you've got two on with no outs. Ethan Lozama ends up flying. I don't remember where it was, so I don't know if you would have advanced the runners at that point in time or not, but still, you'd have 2 on with 1 out. Logan Sutter gets walked. So then you have the bases loaded with with 1 out. Then Patrick Evans also gets walked. So you would have had a walk with the bases loaded that could have advanced a runner across the plate. That would have been Will Craddock. Will Craddock could have walked in and given you a 1-0 lead. And if everything else stays the same after that, you don't score any more runs, and pitching still gives up. Brandon Stone still gives up the hit in the bottom of the ninth. But you get all those 3 outs. You could have won that game 1-0 on that situation alone. Now, again, maybe everything changes after that. I don't know. But when you go back and look, everything else played out, there was a possibility that could have given you the 1 run you needed in that game. Because, again, Florida didn't get anything at the bottom of the ninth, forced the game into extra innings, and we obviously know what happened there. And again, it's just a collective frustration that everybody's feeling about where this team is at as of right now. Then you go to Saturday, and you once again get another strong pitching performance, this time from Amp Phillips. And then I know Lee walked a guy and ends up getting pulled after 4 pitches there. But Zach Russell comes in and does a fine enough job to hold things at bay. You only give up 3 runs in that, and you couldn't do anything offensively. You had 3 hits in that game. Through the first 2 games, you had 4 hits. That's it. That's not going to get it done against anyone. Then you go over to Sunday, and hallelujah, you finally scored. Finally, you did something. Finally, you got runners across the plate. It was all on, 1 swing. But either way, you finally found a way to put some kind of number up on the board. But that was it. Juhas's 3-run homer in the top of the second was the only inning you scored in all weekend. And Radley Goodman didn't have a good outing that day. Pitching just went sideways. Valentin had his worst performance of the season so far. And not only do you get swept, you get run ruled, right? Like, run rules are put in place for when teams in the SEC play teams from the Atlantic Sun, when they play teams from the Missouri Valley, where the talent discrepancy is so large, there's no point in extending the game past 7 innings because your lead is so significant. It's not supposed to happen when SEC teams play SEC teams, right? Those games should be competitive enough where even if you lose, it shouldn't be cut short by a couple of innings. But that's what happened over the weekend, and was just a very fitting way for South Carolina baseball to go out with a whimper on what was a largely disappointing, or not largely, a hugely disappointing weekend. And again, you're wasting good starts from guys like Josh Gunther and Ant Phillips because your offense is completely anemic and can't do anything. It's frustrating. And that, you needed something positive from that series so badly, right? Because there hasn't been a lot of positives this year. I look at that series as a potential confidence killer in a lot of ways. Because I don't know, well, the fan base certainly isn't confident, and we'll get to them in a minute, but as a team, right? You go out there and get shellacked in your first row consoles. Well, don't look now, but here comes Arkansas this weekend. Georgia took 2 out of 3 against Tennessee. We'll get to what happened in Game 3 of that coming up in a little bit here. But if I'm a player on this team, I'm not feeling very confident going forward because I'm not showing that ability to beat any of these teams. In fact, coming up on the other side, I'm going to get into the statistics of how South Carolina baseball has fared in the 6 games against Power 4 opponents so far this year. The 3 against Clemson, and now 3 against Florida. Newsflash, not going to shock you, the numbers aren't good. But when you hear them specifically, it's going to make you want to bang your head against a wall. Like, it's that bad. And I hate that we're having to talk about this. I'd much rather be talking about good baseball, a team that we're talking about being in contention for the tournament in the postseason, but this ain't it. At least not right now. Could they flip this on its head and go on a crazy run? Maybe. I just don't see the possibility in that right now. We'll hear more from Maneri on the other side. Also get into some of those statistics as well. Feel free to weigh in with your frustrations if you have them at 803-404-6100 because, again, this is only one series. You got 9 more in conference play to go. And not feeling great right now. Not going to lie to you. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game.
All
Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing pound 250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Tyrad here for our friends over at Twin Peaks Columbia. Get ready to go green at Twin Peaks this St. Patrick's Day. That's tomorrow, by the way, where you can join them for Irish-inspired specials, ice cold, 29-degree green beers, and all of your favorite scratch-made favorites like loaded nachos, crispy wings, and hearty entrees to fuel the fun. Also, the first four gets rolling tomorrow. You can also catch every March Madness game on their massive screens with wall-to-wall coverage, frosty drafts, and, of course, the friendliest crew in town. There's no better way to celebrate the luck of the Irish or just crush some game day grub than with our friends over at Twin Peaks, located at 600 Gervais Street right here in the Vista. Twin Peaks Columbia, your lodge for great food, great drinks, great vibes. See you there.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Whether it's due to job loss, a divorce, a new business venture, or you just didn't file your taxes, don't lose hope. Powerful relief programs are now available that can help you and may reduce or even eliminate what you owe the IRS. With the cost of living affecting millions across the country, Tax Relief Advocates is urgently notifying anyone with $5, $50, or even $500,000 in back taxes to the IRS to call to get relief options. With over 1,000 five-star Google reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, TRA is America's trusted choice for real tax relief. Relief options are now available that can give you a fresh start and peace of mind. End your tax nightmare today by calling our tax relief hotline. Dial 800-390-8478. 800-390-8478. That's 800-390-8478. Or visit TRA.com. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass, shepherdsglass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Run the Cup, the Governor's Cup Road Race, sponsored by Lexington Health. Be part of history in downtown Columbia at one of the longest running and most prestigious road races in the Southeast. The Half Marathon, 5K, and Main Street Mile are open for registration. Kids can run for free in the Kids Main Street Mile. And don't miss the post-race celebration with music, food, vendors, and a special awards ceremony. Join Lexington Health and register now for the Governor's Cup Road Race, April 10th and 11th. Learn more at runthecup.com.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing. And for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free.
The Extra Point with Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central on the Game Network and the 107.5 The Game app.
All right, welcome back in. Extra Points. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Boy, we have a busy week this week. Tomorrow from 9 until noon, we'll be out at USC's Pro Day over there at the indoor facility as a lot of guys making their cases for the NFL, working out for scouts, and we'll talk plenty about that. Hopefully grab some coaches for interviews while we're over there as well. Always enjoy being out there for Pro Day. Coming up Thursday, we're also going to be out live from Twin Peaks from 12 until 6. Both days talking all things NCAA tournament for the men and the women as the tournaments get rolling properly coming up on Thursday. Of course, got the first 4 games over the course of the next couple days, but the official 64-team bracket gets rolling coming up on Thursday, so excited to be out there and catch it all, as I tell you guys about all the time on TVs as far as the eye can see over there at Twin Peaks. So excited to be out there. But what's not exciting is this Gamecock baseball team as we continue to unpack what happened over the weekend at Florida. And Jack and I, the day following a baseball game or the Monday following a series, we do what are the stats that matter. We look at some of the most important stats from the weekend to kind of tell the story of how this team fared. Runners in scoring position, runners on base, strikeouts, how many extra base hits you allowed, all that kind of stuff. Today I want to do a little bit differently because I not only want to use the numbers from this past weekend, I want to go back and add in the numbers from the Clemson series as well. Again, the other 3 games you've played against Power 4 competition, because this is beginning to tell us probably what to expect against the SEC and Power 4 going forward, because I think 6 games is a pretty good sample size of things specifically when it comes to offense, and that's what these numbers are going to reflect here. So in the 6 games you played between Clemson and Florida over the weekend, the combined batting average, based on my calculations, was 123. 1-2-3. That's how well you hit across those 6 games between Clemson and Florida. Runners in scoring position over the course of those 6 games, a combined 7 of 31. Runners on base, a combined 9 of 74. And you've struck out 58 times. And here's the one that'll really get you. Of the 52 innings played in those 6 games, you scored in 5 of them. So in 47 of 52 innings, you did not plate a single run, namely only one this past weekend. That's not good enough to get it done against anyone. And again, that's a 6-game sample size at this point in time. Now, again, there's plenty of things we've seen against Northern Kentucky, against Army, against Citadel the other night that also raised concerns. But the best litmus test is going up against opponents that are more in line with what you're going to see week in and week out once you're in the thick of conference play. Again, Florida's a conference team. Clemson's a good team. They're ranked for a reason. They're in line with those teams that you're going to be seeing for the next 9 weeks on weekends. And that's what you've given so far through those 6 games. Now, Paul Mainieri, after Saturday's game, talked about, hey, we're still trying everything we can offensively, and we're not giving up on that. And here was his answer.
You know what? I mean, their pitching's really good. I mean, they're really, really good. I mean, what can I say? The kid that started today hasn't given up an earned run all year, and the other kid last night's going to be a top 10 pick. And they brought in one of the 2 guys they brought in last night that throws in the upper 90s. I mean, it's a big challenge, and we're going to. I mean, believe me, Monty's working as hard as he can on it. He's frustrated like I am. We're just not hitting against really good pitching. So hopefully tomorrow, we'll be better. We've tried everything. Believe me, we're trying to get them going. But when you have opportunities, we didn't have a lot of opportunities, but especially when we had a runner at third and less than 2 outs, you just got to get that guy in. If we get that guy in, it's a 1-1 game. Who knows what ends up happening? But like I said, we gave up the 2 runs in the 7th inning because we free passed them, 4 times in the inning, and they hit a couple of sacrifice flies, and now you really got to hit your way back into it. We didn't hit a lot of balls hard. We hit a few balls hard, but they, look at the last inning. Talmadge smoked that one in left field. The second baseman just made a great play on a ball that that last one Bach, and sometimes it's your hitters, sometimes it's their pitchers, sometimes they make great plays, and you just gotta keep believing in your kids, and they let them keep going up there and competing hard, and hopefully they'll start to fall for us.
I want to go back to the very beginning of that, where he says, well, they're just really good at pitching. Is that true? Yeah, to a degree. Now, I went over the numbers on Friday, and Florida's not been the best in the SEC so far this year. Namely, they had the worst opponent batting average so far. Well, you've certainly helped them out in that regard. But even if that's true, even if Florida is just a really good pitching team, that's not an excuse that any of us should be accepting, right? Because you struggled on offense a year ago. There's no denying that. And Mainieri, throughout the entire season, voices frustration on that. So what'd you do? You completely flipped the roster. You went out there. You spent seemingly a lot of money. We'll get to the budgets of baseball coming up here in a minute. You spent a lot of money to go out there and get hitters from all over the place. You got guys from junior college. You got guys that were some of the best in the Big Ten, like Logan Sutter. Like, you went out there and got exactly what you wanted to make you better at the plate, and it's not happening. So the excuse of, well, Florida's just really good at pitching. We shouldn't buy that, right? And here's the thing. You're going to face better pitching, right? Again, Florida, yeah, they've got a couple guys that are really good, and one of them's probably going to get drafted pretty high. That's not the last time you're going to see that, right? Arkansas, Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, the list goes on and on. Texas. You're going to keep seeing good pitching each and every weekend. That's what the SEC is. In fact, you're a team that shows, at least through 2 games, you can pitch pretty well yourself. So that's just the norm of the conference. You're not going to run into, I don't know, maybe when you go to Missouri or something like that, you're not going to run into teams that are just bad at pitching, right? So that's not a viable excuse, because when you say that, it's the anticipation of, well, it's only for this week. No, Arkansas is coming to town. You're going to Georgia at the end of the month. They're going to keep pitching really well. You got to find a way to hit it, and I'm just not seeing that as of right now. And again, that's what this it's weird that we're kind of having similar conversations about men's basketball this past year and baseball right now, because one of the biggest points of emphasis for both teams in the offseason was to improve on offense. And we thought the identity of the men's basketball team was going to be shooting a lot of threes. Now, they shot a lot. They didn't make a lot, but they didn't live up to what their philosophy was supposed to be, and that's why they went 4-14 in conference play and why nobody's happy about Lamont Paris coming back. Well, similarly with baseball, you're supposed to go out there and get guys that could tear the cover off the ball, more power hitters, all this kind of stuff, and you're not seeing it. When you go through an entire weekend of 26 total innings and you plate runs in one of them off of one swing, it wasn't like, all right, you put a couple hits together, a couple RBIs, that kind of stuff. Like, no, Luke Uhas's one swing was your entire offensive output for the entire weekend. And again, you didn't have that much more against Clemson. So I don't know what needs to change. And I don't think they're sitting around there at practice twiddling their thumbs thinking they're fine. But I don't know how you fix this deep into the season. Because again, a lot of things in terms of philosophy, in terms of development, that's off-season stuff. That's done in the fall. That's done in January leading up to the season. You're in season now. You only have so much time to improve on things. I don't know what we expect to change, right? And the fan base is fed up. I see the phone ringing. I'll get to some of your texts as well. You guys are fed up, and I understand it. And I don't know. I want to get into this on the other side, too, because we have some numbers that suggest of what Carolina is spending in baseball, which makes what's happening even more unacceptable. And I'll get to that coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Monday on the Game.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Springtime in Columbia. And if you own a business, you too can have the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad. And I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
Rhino Shield's not pain, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
Business or residential, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer is limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit RhinoShieldCarolina.com. Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Get ready to shamrock your St. Patty's Day with festivities at O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. Join them Saturday, March 14th for an all-day party under the Big Top, starting at noon with Brandon Mullis. As the sun sets, local favorites Prettier Than Matt and Tokyo Joe will take the stage for a special joint set from 6 to 10 that you absolutely don't want to miss. But the celebration doesn't stop there. Return on St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th for Columbia's most authentic Irish experience. Enjoy another all-day event of delicious food, lively fun, and fantastic music featuring the Cash Money Experience. Don't miss out on the ultimate St. Patty's Day parties at Columbia's only Irish pub, O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. For more details on all the Shamrock Festival events, visit o'harasph.com. Cheers to a full day of Irish charm.
This is the sound of Lucy, staying on top of her spending. You see, even though she's buying a new pair of jeans, she knows that it fits within her monthly budget. Because Wells Fargo will send an alert if her balance drops below her set amount. Yep, nothing gets past Lucy, or Wells Fargo for that matter. However you make money work, Wells Fargo can work with that.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
BOGO is back at iMart Express.
Come on. Okay.
Right now, for a limited time only, new customers can buy their first pair of glasses and get a second pair free. Plus, with eye exams available and same-day glasses, you'll never miss a moment. It's the kind of savings and service you can really get used to.
Okay.
Find a location near you at imartexpress.com to shop our BOGO event today and see everything we have in store for you. iMart Express. Get glasses. Go see.
You could file your taxes on a basic free service, which is fine. But are you okay with fine? Because when it's your money on the line, do you really want to guess if you missed a credit or hope the math is right? Get the confidence of TurboTax for free right on the Intuit Credit Karma app. Free Fed and free state for simple 1040s only. Around 37% of filers qualify. See details at turbotax.com/free. No schedules except for EITC, CTC, student loan interest, and Schedule 1A.
Average Owls. Our chairs sit. Our tables stand.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. See what Smarter Digital can do for you at cumulusdigital.com.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Feltry from Gamecock Central. On the Game Network, the 107.5, the Game app, and the Game TV radio on YouTube.
welcome back in. Extra Point. Again, Tyler Head flying solo with you here on your Monday on the Game. Again, Jack for covering this team this year, especially this past weekend in Gainesville. He deserves another day or so off, and we're planning to get him back in here coming up on Wednesday. We'll get his thoughts on everything that he saw transpire over the weekend, certainly there, and by that point in time, we can slowly start to look ahead to the Arkansas series coming up this weekend. They do have a midweeker tomorrow taking on Charlotte. That game has been moved up, by the way, to 4 o'clock. I don't have the specifics on if we're going to have that here on the Game or one of our sister stations or not, so I'll keep you updated on that. But I do know that they did move that game up over the course of the weekend. And look, if they can go out there and they can obliterate Charlotte, 25-0 and run roll them. That doesn't change anything, right? Just like we were talking about heading into mid last week, where you had handled your business against Upstate, against Charleston Southern, and then 3 games against Princeton. Didn't really change how we thought about this team. It was better than losing. We said, okay, well, maybe there's something to be said about, putting a couple of wins together, doing your job, and maybe that you're building towards the start of conference play. Well, then you go out there and you lose Citadel, then you go out there and get swept by Florida. So any semblance of that momentum has been completely squashed at this point in time. And if you missed it in the last segment, I'll run through it again, that I've taken the numbers offensively of how this team has fared in its 6 games between Clemson and Florida. Batting average is 123. You're 7 of 31 with runners in scoring position, 9 of 74 with runners on base, and you've struck out 58 times, and you've only scored in 5 of 52 possible innings. Not going to get it done. I mean, you're bordering on historically awful if you keep that up, right? And last year was already historically bad enough, going 6-24 in conference play, specifically since they've joined the SEC, and you're not trending in a great direction as of right now. In fact, with the losses over the weekend, Pulmonary is now 7-34 against Power 4 competition and 6-28 combined against the SEC. You factor in their one and done in the SEC tournament a year ago. I mean, this experiment's not working, right? And I get it. There's a lot of baseball left to be played. We're not even at the halfway point of the season, but I don't think anybody in this fan base is looking at what you've done so far this year and expecting some kind of miraculous turnaround. By the way, one of you weighing in here on the, I'll call you Ferrari, on the YouTube live stream. It says, we're on the brink of a historic season. Imagine we don't win a single conference game. I don't think it's going to be that bad, right? Like, baseball's a funny enough sport where you'll find a way, especially if you have good outings from guys like Gunther and Ant Phillips, you'll find a way to win some games here or there. But just kind of comparing things to last year, when you look at the next 27 games that you have in conference play, so the 9 remaining conference series, can they get to 6? Like, that kind of feels like it's asking a lot as of right now. You know what I mean? Like, and you always got to be careful saying it can't get any worse, because I think a lot of people may have looked at that and said, well, last year was bad, but it can't get worse, right? No, it can. It definitely can. And the way things are trending as of right now, I'm struggling to find those 6 wins. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you go on the road. Going on the road and you look at the results of the SEC over the weekend, go on the road has been tough for just about everybody. So, can you find a way to get one against Arkansas this weekend? Maybe. Going to Georgia after that, not easy. You go to LSU at the end of the season. Like, I'm struggling to find the optimism here, and I hate to be that way, right? And just for clarification here, I did not grow up a Gamecock baseball fan like a lot of you, but I have just as much of an investment because I don't like coming in here and talking about a bad baseball team. I don't like having to come in here and talk about historically bad seasons, having 11 hits over the course of a weekend. I don't like that. I hate that, in fact. I despise bad baseball, and I've seen a lot of it here the past 2 years. I want this team to win as much as you do. I want us to be able to come in here on Mondays after series and talk about how great this guy was, and man, did you see that home run in this game, or whatever it may be. And we're taking calls and text and all that kind of stuff about, hey, I've already booked my hotels for the postseason and all this kind of stuff. We're not there. We're not even close to there as of right now. And you wonder what else can be done, right? You've got a coach that has the pedigree. When he got hired here, you could say that guy's won a national championship. He basically has a residency in Omaha from his time at LSU. If anybody's going to get it done here, wouldn't it be this guy, right? And seemingly the resources to acquire talent have been there. That's where I get to this. Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter, who we've had on the show before, published something over last week about spending budgets for college baseball programs from last fiscal year. So this doesn't have the bearing necessarily on this year. These numbers run from July of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. So basically what the budgets were from last year. Carolina was 7th in the nation in spending our operating budgets for baseball, which include a lot of things, but also your payments as well, behind Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, A&M, Texas, and then South Carolina 7th with $8 million. Now, again, not all that goes to NIL, but again, a sizable amount, you would imagine, are factored into that, right? So you have the 7th best operating budget from last year. I can't imagine it's gone down by much, right? If anything, it's gone up. If anything, there's more investment into this baseball program this year, and you're not seeing the results. And that's where fans are really fed up. And I try and take Twitter and message boards with a grain of salt because they are just a snapshot of a greater fan base, but they can give you an idea, kind of help you put your finger on the pulse of how a fan base is feeling about things. And all I'm seeing is people like, hey, I'm not going to Founders Park anymore this year. I'm done. Talk to me when they have a new coach, all this kind of stuff. Seriously, I worry what Founders Park's going to look like. So again, it's going to be a beautiful weekend, by the way. Like, the weather looks great here. I know we got a couple cold snaps coming in the next couple days, but the weather looks great for this upcoming weekend. And I don't know how many people are going to show up for Arkansas, for a ranked team coming in here. 10 to 15 years ago, this place would have been sold out, right? And this is kind of the conversation we started having towards the end of the Kingston era, which, hindsight being 2020, I think a lot of people might take Kingston back as of right now, because at least he was getting you to the postseason. Maneri's not getting anywhere close, or at least doesn't look like it. And towards the end of the Kingston era, I was like, well, the vibe at Founders Park just isn't the same. There's not the juice there was anymore because there's not belief in the fan base. Well, it's better than it was. It's better then than it is now. Because I don't know anybody that's going to Founders Park thinking this weekend that Carolina's going to be able to beat Arkansas, or at least take the series from Arkansas, right? So now, again, going back to the conversations we have so similarly about men's basketball this past year, you have a fan base that's starting to check out. And for a lot of you, maybe you've already checked out. Maybe you've already given up on the season. I don't blame you. You're not wrong in that. But for the people that maybe hung on a little bit longer, saying, well, let's get into conference play. Let's see what happens. You didn't give them anything to be optimistic about, saying, oh, well, got swept, got run-rolled in one of those games. That's embarrassing. Okay, maybe I'll find something else to do with my spring weekends. Because, again, the weather's getting nice, right? It's not people's obligation to be out there at Founders Park. They'd like to be if you gave them a reason to be. But I'm just not seeing that as of right now. And, again, like with men's basketball, fans vote with their presence, right? People may have already bought season tickets or whatever, but not being there, that's a bad look. Looks bad on camera, looks bad in pictures, looks bad all around. And Founders Park might be a ghost town this weekend. We'll see. And I don't blame fans for feeling that way. It's not good. It's not good. And this past weekend was a perfect encapsulation of all that. We'll come back, wrap up the hour, get more of your thoughts as well. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game.
Sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. Columbia, 96.9 The Game in Charleston, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
It's that time again. Friday, April 3rd, the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood in West Columbia with our buddies Rock and Daniel Lucas. Once again, $400 for a team. And we have Saki's Morning Libations Bar before tee-off. Also, the classic onion sausage. Once again, presented by the Lexington Gamecock Club. Yeah, I know you're going to ask. We have the golf gun. Yes, we do. All that Friday, April 3rd. Again, $400 a team, $100 for an individual. Very simple. Write down this phone number, 803-755-2000, and press number 2 for our buddies at Charwood. Again, 803-555-2000, press 2. April 3rd, it's the Spring Golf Classic from the Game.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Presented by Robinhood. Learn more with Robinhood at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. UConn has officially secured the #1 overall seed in the 2026 Women's NCAA Tournament, entering the dance a perfect 34-0. The Huskies hunting their 13th national title, and they'll get it over UCLA, Texas, and South Carolina. I'm Drake Toll.
Is your everyday congestion preventing you from enjoying life's big moments? Try Vicks Sinex Saline today and get yourself back in the action. Vicks Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion with a gentle, ultra-fine mist. Sinex Saline's drug-free, no-mess formula instantly moisturizes and soothes dry, irritated nasal passages for quick and effective relief. Get back to enjoying life's biggest moments to the fullest without having to worry about everyday congestion holding you back. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Pump up the volume. Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
Tartan Day, you might just learn a thing or two. We can't wait to see all of you at Tartan Day.
Break out your kilts. It's time for Tartan Day South, built by Culpeper Wood. This year's festival celebrates the Celtic influence on our nation's 250th birthday. The Celtic Concert is Friday, March 27th. All the great bands hit the stage for one musical night at the Ice House Amphitheater, downtown Lexington. And then the main event, Tartan Day South Celtic Festival, is Saturday, March 28th at the historic Columbia Speedway in Casey. Gates open at 9 a.m. to a 9-acre infield of lush green grass filled with activities and entertainment, Highland Athletics, Celtic concerts, South Carolina's largest British car show, sheepdogs, birds of prey exhibitions, and food and beverage vendors for the entire family.
Tartan Day, you might just learn a thing or two. We can't wait to see all of you at Tartan Day.
Tickets on sale now at tartandaySouth.com.
Whether it's day or night, hot flashes due to menopause can be unpredictable. That's why there's Veoza, a prescription treatment proven to reduce the number and severity of hot flashes day and night that can start working in as early as 1 week. Based on clinical studies measuring efficacy at 4 and 12 weeks, individual results may vary. Talk to your healthcare provider about what this may mean for you. For moderate to severe vasomotor symptoms or hot flashes and night sweats due to menopause, Veoza can cause serious side effects, including liver problems. Your doctor will do blood tests before and during treatment. Stop Veoza and call your doctor if you have symptoms of liver problems, such as feeling more tired than usual, decreased appetite, nausea, vomiting, itching, yellowing of the eyes or skin, pale stool, dark urine, or stomach pain. Don't use Veoza if you have cirrhosis, severe kidney problems, kidney failure, or take CYP1A2 inhibitors. Ask your doctor about Veoza. To learn more, call 1-866-239-1637 or go to Veoza.com. That's Veozah.com. Paid for by Stellus Pharma.
The Extra Point.
And the kick is good!
With Tyler Head and Jack Beltry from Gamecock Central on the Game Network, the 107.5 The Game app, and at the Game TV radio on YouTube.
Welcome back in. Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. We'll get some of your thoughts on the AAA Heat and Air phone lines on Gamecock Baseball coming up here in just a second. I want to go back real quick to something to reference that last segment for more clarity. Again, Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter put out the top 25 operational budgets for college baseball from last year. So last year, the season in which LSU beat Coastal for the national championship, and Carolina, of course, went 6-24. These are operational budgets, and they don't include revenue share payments because there was no revenue sharing at that point in time. He points out includes coaching salaries, administrative salaries, scholarship, travel, software recruiting, other sorts of operational expenses. So that's not including the payments to players because, again, revenue sharing was not around at that point in time. But, again, South Carolina was 7th in total spending of teams in the nation a year ago, and I can't imagine that number went down. I imagine they probably had just as much, if not more, investment going into this year, which would include revenue sharing payments on top of NIL and all that kind of stuff, and we're not seeing the results. Even if we're not even talking about the player payments here, if you were investing the 7th most resources into your program on operational expenses alone, the results you're getting are inexcusable. So I wanted to clarify that before we moved on and continue talking about things here, where I'll head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines where Drew wants to weigh on his thoughts on men's sports in general right now. Drew, appreciate the call. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking the call. First of all, we need to change our name to the Fighting Title Nines. I have a daughter, so I'm kind of partially biased.
Okay.
But we all know where the numbers are on the men's programs. They speak for themselves. I'm going cold turkey. I will not attend another men's basketball game or baseball game until Jeremiah Donati finds new coaches. I'm quitting cold turkey. I'm not going to waste my time and effort. If you look at the women's programs, not all of them are ranked, but women's basketball speaks for itself. Beach volleyball, I see, is always ranked in the middle, the back end of the top 25. Softball's usually anywhere from 15 to 25. Women's golf, I know, is top 5. Women's tennis, I think, is always anywhere between 15 and 25. But women's soccer is always ranked. So if you look across the board, almost every women's sport is ranked or stays ranked. So I start going to softball and beach volleyball and tennis and expand my horizon because I just don't understand. You know, I know basketball, footprint-wise, we have to compete with the ACC recruiting-wise. I get it. Basketball is a little, tough animal, but there's no excuse. And baseball, I mean, we at one time were a feared program. People feared us. People were scared of us. Now people look at us as a bunch of peewees playing t-ball. I mean, baseball let's just cut through the mustard and they suck. Period.
Yeah.
They got a few guys here and there, but if you guys are not, if you guys can't compete in Power 5 big boy athletics, they can compete in the church league softball team on Sunday with a keg of beer. But I'm just fed up with it. I'm not Silver Spur donor. I'm half scholarship, have been a donor for 33 consecutive years, and I am quitting the two big men's sports. Football I'll still go to because football has its ups and downs, but
right.
Football is still fun to go to. Baseball and men's basketball, forget about it. See you around the Russell House. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the call there, Drew. 803-404-6100, and I think he speaks for a lot of people. Now, it's good that he's not abandoning all of Gamecock athletics. He's shifting his focus to the women. And, again, women's basketball, like you said, speaks for itself. Gamecock softball with the sweep of Boston College over the weekend. Volleyball, as you mentioned there. So a lot of sports doing some good things, mainly on the women's side because, again, the men's stuff, it's frustrating. I mean, there might not be. I think I saw a graphic over the weekend. I think the Gamecock men's sports were the only ones to miss all 3 major tournaments in the last calendar year across the SEC because at least the other 15 teams made at least one of those. So, again, it kind of speaks volumes to where you're at as of right now. It's not good. It's not good at all. And I think a lot of people share the sentiments of Drew, like, hey, I'm done. Now, again, when you start talking about people that are going to stop donating, that's where you really run into problems because, again, there's your money. There's your money coming in to have those pay for those operational expenses, to pay into revenue share. And that's where you start running into more problems because the fan base stops believing. And he brings up a point that we talk about a lot. Nobody fears South Carolina anymore, right? The interlocking SC logo, when you used to see it on the schedule for baseball, as we're talking about here, it's like, oh, man, we got to go to South Carolina. South Carolina's coming in here. Now it's like, whatever, right? I mean, Arkansas may look around this weekend and be like, did the fans know there was a game today? Did they know that we're coming to town? They're going to be wondering what the heck Founders Park is looking like that for, right? It's unfortunate. It's sad because, again, you were at the mountaintop. Like for men's basketball, you were never, you had the Final Four run, but you were never thought of as one of the elite programs in that sport. So what you're trying to claw back to is just competitiveness, making the tournament, that kind of stuff. For baseball, you were the king. You sat at the top of the mountain. Everybody was gunning after you. Everybody was trying to get to you. And now people feel sorry for you. When Carolina lost, the other week in the game against Queens, I mean, I saw fans from other SEC teams talking about how sorry they felt for Carolina, how bad they felt for you, right? These are the people that used to hate you. They used to despise South Carolina. Now they feel sorry for you because of the state of what this baseball program is as of right now. It's not good. And again, appreciate the call there, Drew, at 803-404-6100. I think a lot of people share that sentiment. It's not good. It is not good at all. But since you did bring up women's sports, we'll transition to some positives coming up in hour number 2 because we did learn what the women's bracket's going to look like, who South Carolina's going to have to go to, and what their path to the national championship, hopefully, another Final Four, hopefully, can be this upcoming March into April. So we'll get into that. I'll also let you hear from Dawn Staley as well as we get into hour number 2. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head again, flying solo with you here on your Monday on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? Well, AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you then. AAA now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling AAA Heating and Air for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jack from 107.5 The Game sent you. At AAA Heating and Air, they've got your back. They're offering up to 12-month payment plans on repairs with no credit check required. That's right. No need to worry about your credit score in this case. As long as you're a homeowner with a valid bank account, you'll be good to go. So take control of your comfort today by giving a call to AAA Heating and Air at 803-677-1500. Again, the number to call AAA is 803-677-1500. Give them a call today and breathe easy again.
Hendrick. Why shop for a Chevy or GMC the way you always have? Shop the nation's #1 dealer group, Hendrick Chevrolet and Hendrick GMC. Buy now, but make no payments for 3 months. Experience the Hendrick difference. With approved credit, see dealer for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-714-9090. That's 800-714-9090.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia. The Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
If you need orthopedic or neurosurgical care, it's a big deal to you and to us. At Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, we offer easy access to seasoned physicians with the most extensive outpatient experience in the region. Whether it's joint replacement, a neck or back procedure, or injury care, you can trust us to provide customized treatment plans with easy access, great outcomes, and lower cost to you. Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery.
Vista Roofing, your local CertainTeed Select Shingle Master. Looking for a roof that's built to last? Trust the certified experts at Vista Roofing for professional installation, top-tier materials, and peace of mind backed by industry-leading warranties. From repairs to full replacements, Vista Roofing delivers durable results and exceptional service. Call now or visit VistaRoofingINC.com to schedule your free estimate. Vista Roofing, raising the standard one shingle at a time.
They say perfection is a journey, and at Carolina Stone Craftsman, that journey leads us to just outside Columbia in Chapin. Our marble, our granite, our quartz, they're sculpted with the highest craftsmanship, honed with family values, and delivered with professional results. Explore the craftsmanship of each slab, see all our new showroom has to offer, and experience our custom hardscapes. Crafted to perfection, experience Carolina Stone Craftsman's workmanship. Take us for granted. Your journey to perfection starts with us, Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia and Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com.
Explore the world with the 31st Annual Columbia International Festival, April 18th and 19th at the State Fairgrounds with free parking. Experience over 100 national exhibits, cuisines from around the world, an international bazaar, a global fashion show, an Olympic-style flag ceremony, and performers from around the globe. Now partnering with the SC250 Revolutionary Discovery Center. For tickets and more information, visit CIFonline.org. That's CIFonline.org.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station.
Oh, yeah.
The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Welcome back in hour number 2. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday. Again, flying solo. Jack Veltri will be back in coming up on Wednesday. Tomorrow morning, we'll be live over at USC Pro Day as all of the now former Gamecocks will be working out for their opportunity to go play at the next level. Obviously, we'll talk a lot about Brandon Cisse and his opportunity to maybe work his way in to the first round. Again, as always, we'll try and grab some coaches and stuff. The past couple of years, we've had Dow Loggins and Clayton White. We'll certainly see what coaches we can effort. Maybe Beamer will join us this time. We'll certainly try for that coming up tomorrow. But, yeah, that'll be from 9 until 12 right here for the Extra Point and Gamecock Central Takeover on 107.5 The Game. And as this week goes along, we'll continue to get you ready for a lot of March Madness basketball as those tournaments get rolling later on this week. You get first 4 games coming up tomorrow and Wednesday for the men, Wednesday and Thursday for the women, and then the men's brackets get rolling proper on Thursday, women's get rolling on Friday. South Carolina, by the way, will be in action coming up on Saturday in their first game of the NCAA tournament as they'll take on the 16 seed of either Southern or Samford. Those two teams will play coming up a little bit later on this week on Thursday in their first 4 game out in Sacramento. And again, winner advances take on South Carolina in Region 4 of the Sacramento side of the bracket. For anybody that, worried, hey, would Carolina not maybe end up being a number 1 seed? No worries there. End up being a number 1 overall seed. But the 4th there of the other 4 number 1 seeds of UCLA, Texas, and, of course, UConn. So it's going to be a challenge, as it always is, right? And when you look at the bracket and the way that it works out for South Carolina, there's a lot of rematch potential here. Now, again, and we're not trying to disrespect anybody, but I don't think South Carolina should have a problem with Southern or Samford, whoever they end up matching up with in the first round. So we're going to assume they're going to win that game, and they'll advance on into round number 2. But that's where it gets interesting because, again, you start to run into teams that do have more familiarity with you, and that's either going to be Clemson or Southern California. That's the 8-9 matchup within your own bracket, and, again, the winner of that would advance on to take on South Carolina in the second round. Again, here in Columbia. Again, the bracket is Sacramento bracket, but the games, the first two rounds will be here in Columbia, as they are for the top 16 seeds that host. And those are two teams, funny enough, that you played in back-to-back games back at the beginning of the year. You crushed Clemson. You handled Southern California with relative ease there. But there's something to be said about familiarity and teams having seen you once and knowing you and all that kind of stuff, though I don't think that's something that concerns this fan base as much. And look, here's the thing with women's basketball. The expectation is, all right, you're going to be in the Final Four, right? And there's a reason, because they've gone to so many in a row, that's just the standard and expectation. Anything short of that is legitimately a shock. But as you look around the rest of the bracket here, there's another team that really stands out that you would see in a potential Sweet 16 matchup, that being Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's the number 4. They've got Idaho in round number 1. If they win that, they would take on the winner of Michigan State and Colorado in the 5-12 matchup in the second round. And again, winning that, if Carolina wins their first two, those two teams would match up in the Sweet 16. And again, this is a Oklahoma team that did beat South Carolina for their one regular season conference loss earlier on this year. That game where they just were completely lights out in that overtime, where I don't think they missed a shot. If they did miss a shot, it wasn't many, and Carolina did all of nothing. And yeah, that was on Oklahoma's turf out there in Norman, so that could have played a factor into it. But still, that's a team that has shown the ability to beat you, much like Texas, who beat you on Thanksgiving. You got your lick back in the regular season, but they beat you once again up in Greenville. Oklahoma has shown you they know the blueprint on how to beat you, and that is something that can cause some concern, right? Now, again, we always lean towards South Carolina, but that is something that does concern you when it comes to the way you look at the bracket. You also got a couple of tricky teams in TCU and Iowa on the other end of your side that you would match up potentially with in a Elite Eight. Iowa the 2, TCU the 3. So it's not a complete given. You do have some challenges you could be facing along the way in terms of trying to get yourself once again to the Final Four coming up in Phoenix. And Dawn Staley yesterday talked about at their little watch party there to unveil the brackets about what she thought of the bracket.
I mean, we haven't seen an opponent in quite some time, so it's good to see us have something like a goal, a team to look forward to playing. So I like the bracket.
As you would expect, she'd say that, right? And that's on your 16-team portion of the bracket. When you look on the other side of the Sacramento Regional, UCLA is the number 1. You've got Duke at number 3. Again, another team that you've already seen this year that you did handle your business against. LSU's the 2 over there. We know how good LSU is. We know LSU has come close. They haven't got the job done, at least not under Kim Mulkey. But LSU is a team that is as familiar with you as anybody. And they gave you all you could handle just a few days ago in the SEC tournament once again. So there's familiarity there. There's a lot of bumps along the way, right? Now, again, none of us deny Dawn Staley and the South Carolina team ability to win those games, but it's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be a layup, especially with some of the ups and downs we've seen this team play with throughout this entire season at times. And that gets into some of the other things that Dawn Staley talked about yesterday at the watch party. One of them being how she expects her freshmen to prepare and hopefully step up in their first edition of the tournament.
Well, I think that the key to getting the young players ready is to practice in such a way. Like you actually, practice with, tighter reins. Like you got to execute in these moments because it's do or die. And as long as we can continue to give them experience in that way. But I thought they've done the hard part, which is they've grown, they've developed, and I do think they can make an impact and will make an impact for our team in this tournament.
So you're looking at Agat McKeer, Gotti as they like to call her, Isla McDowell, and Alicia Turnabais getting set to take in their first ever NCAA tournament. And, you're going to be as prepared as anybody playing at South Carolina under Dawn Staley, but still there are new things about the tournament lifestyle that every young player has to get used to. And again, you've seen from even some of the best on the team right now, various results when they've gone through the tournament for, their first go-around. I mean, Joyce Edwards last year had a couple games that weren't great. She had 4 points against Duke last year in, what was that, the Elite Eight. Even the best players can stumble a little bit as you get in some of these tournament games and playing a lot of games close together and, traveling and all that kind of stuff. So it does present its own set of challenges. Now, on the other side, you can have somebody like Tessa Johnson who can go out there and become Tournament Tessa, right? That's what we look for this time of year is like, Tessa Johnson's somebody that goes out there and, and steps up and plays her best basketball when the lights are the brightest in the month of March. So it's going to be interesting to see how those freshmen end up faring with their first go-around in the tournament, in the tournament here. On the flip side of that, I just mentioned Tessa Johnson, the veterans are looked at as the ones that have to step up even more in the tournament because you're supposed to be playing your best basketball once you get into the month of March. And that's something else that Dawn Staley spoke about last night was those veterans stepping up themselves.
Yeah, just working hard, just trying to play great basketball, just trying to do some situational basketball to where we're executing and we're on the string from a defensive standpoint, and also just working some different defenses in which we could try to just diversify a little bit since we will be playing different competition.
And when you look, I just mentioned Tessa Johnson a moment ago, who, again, we know affectionately as Tournament Tessa. When you look at this stretch of the last handful of games, she's not been playing her best, right? She's been 33% or worse shooting from the field in 5 out of the last 6. Now, she had a really stronger outing against Kentucky, but the other games around that haven't been her best. But we know what she's capable of, and we expect her to step up and play her best basketball in the month of March. But, again, she's not coming in riding a huge, wave of momentum at this point in time. You also talk about Tania Latson, who's had, for one, she's had injuries this year, which certainly, hasn't helped, but she's had her ups and downs this year as well. And again, you look at her as somebody that you expect to be a huge contributor on offense as you get into these games. And again, she was held in check in a lot of ways against Texas the other week when they played in the SEC tournament. So a lot of questions certainly going in. And I think for a lot of the fan base, maybe a higher level of concern than we've seen in past tournaments, right? Because, again, the expectation is, you're going to be in the Final Four, you're going to play for the national championship. Obviously, didn't end up the way you wanted it last year with the loss to UConn, but you just expect, all right, they're going to be able to breeze through and get through all these teams. But I think a lot of people maybe have more concern going into this tournament than they have in maybe the past handful of years. That doesn't mean that this team's not capable of running the table, going all the way, and hoisting another trophy and hanging a banner after the trip to Phoenix come up here in a couple weeks. Because it's Dawn Staley. She's always going to have, that's always going to be the ceiling of a Dawn Staley team. No matter how the regular season looks or the conference tournament or whatever, they're always going to be a team that is a factor to win the national championship because they've been there and done that so many times. Talk about some coaches not being good tournament coaches. Dawn Staley's an elite tournament coach. So even if she was bringing in maybe not her best team, you're still always going to believe they're going to have a chance. But when you look at the losses they've had, the way that they lost in the SEC tournament by spotting Texas 2 touchdowns right out of the gate, that's concerning because when you get deep into this thing against LSU, potentially UCLA, again, TCU, Oklahoma, like these potential matchups that you could have, you spot any of those teams those many points, you're going to have a tough time digging out of that hole, right? We've seen issues throughout the year in various ways that led to some of the losses like they had to Oklahoma that, again, you don't completely discredit, but it is in the back of your mind like, hey, these problems could come up again and could be a problem once they get into the NCAA tournament. So we'll see what happens. Again, they're waiting on the winner of Southern and Stanford coming up on Thursday night to see who their first-round opponent will be going into Saturday, and then we'll obviously go from there. But I'm excited. Again, going back to Drew's call there at the end of the last hour, if you're completely fed up with men's sports, and I don't blame you if you are, well, here's your opportunity. If you haven't fully immersed yourself into a South Carolina women's tournament run, well, here's your chance. Get things started on Saturday. Maybe you can still grab some tickets over at CLA and take it all in and take your mind off baseball or basketball or football, whatever it may be. Because, again, we're going to be following this team, we expect, for the next handful of weeks, hopefully all the way to another Final Four and hopefully another national championship appearance coming up here at Phoenix. And I'm sure our guy Elijah Campbell will be on the road with them for all that as well. But, yeah, I think it's rolling coming up on Saturday. And here's hoping it's another successful tournament run for Don Staley and company. Obviously, a very busy weekend wrapping up men's basketball as well for the various conference tournaments and the bracket reveal, too. We'll get into that coming up next of what happened out in Nashville at the SEC and how many teams did get in and what coaches maybe saved their jobs along the way. That's coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and, and Jack Feltry. Just Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach. Gamecock fans, get ready for something new this season. Charleston now has a new station for Carolina sports talk. Dial in to 96.9 The Game on HD3. Head to 96.9 FM and on an HD radio, punch into HD Channel 3. You'll unleash live Carolina coverage you can listen to all day long. New on HD3. It's 96.9 The Game HD3, South Carolina's newest sports station.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-902-5454. That's 800-902-5454. 800-902-5454.
Yo, this is Ray and Nathan with Pope Davis Tire Automotive.
Dad, why do the other tire places in town not like us?
They are just jelly about our lit prices.
Like the top 17-inch size for your Mommobile, $500 for a set of 4 out the door.
Or the top 20-inch truck size for $720 total, no cap.
You can even buy tires online at PopeDavisTire.com.
Why is my line just 6'7"?
6'7".
I don't get it.
PopeDavisTire.com.
Springtime in Columbia. And if you hate to paint, do what Jean did. She called Rhino Shield.
So the house was built in 1952. We had Rhino Shield out about a year and a half ago to paint our house from gray to white.
Remember, Rhino Shield's not paint. It's better.
My husband had to talk to me a little bit about Rhino Shield. Is it something we want to do? But it was 25-year guarantee. I just didn't know how we could go wrong.
Columbia, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield now for 15% off the regular price.
We have 3 different exteriors to our property, and Rhino Shield painted them all. We were very pleased with the product and the job they did.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer is limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit RhinoShieldCarolina.com. Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you have nagging arthritis pain that won't go away and nothing seems to help, you may need to consider joint replacement, and that can be a little unsettling. At Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery, we understand and can help put your mind at ease. Our experienced orthopedic surgeons and advanced technology enable our team to deliver consistently excellent joint replacement outcomes with no hospital stay and lower cost to you. Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA Heating and Air now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling 803-677-1500 for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips with 107.5 sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
The Carolina Cup races return on Saturday, March 28th in Camden, South Carolina, presented by MUSC Health. It's where spring begins. So grab your most festive hat or your favorite bow tie and make plans now for the best tailgating, shopping, fashion, and incredible horses running to victory. It's the 91st running of the Carolina Cup races, and don't forget to bring the whole family and enjoy the True Vista Kids Zone. Plus, remember, all kids 12 and under get in free. Saturday, March 28th. Visit carolinacup.org for tickets and details.
Oh, yeah.
The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. Looking back on the weekend that was, of course, extremely busy weekend when it comes to men's basketball, too, as all the tickets have been punched for the NCAA tournament. We'll get to the bracket coming up here in just a moment, but a very interesting SEC tournament. Maybe didn't exactly play out the way we expected it to. Again, I've been harping on Florida as what I think is the team to beat across the entire month of March, but ended up not being the team to beat when it comes to the SEC tournament, as they get just run over by Vanderbilt in the semifinals on Saturday, propelling Vanderbilt to play for the championship on Sunday, where they lose to Arkansas 86-75. Arkansas had to survive a crazy overtime game against Ole Miss on Saturday, a game where a weekend where it felt like maybe, just maybe, Ole Miss was going to put the magic together long enough to buy themselves in to the NCAA tournament, because they came in the same way to the week that South Carolina did, LSU, Mississippi State, of like, hey, you got to go on a crazy run in the next handful of days to even entertain the idea of making the tournament by winning the conference championship. And Ole Miss beat Texas, beat Georgia, they beat Alabama on Friday, and then darn near beat Arkansas on Saturday to get themselves to the tournament final. Just came up a little bit short there. But yeah, it didn't exactly play out the way that we thought it was going to. And for John Calipari, year number 2 at Arkansas, conference tournament championship, riding a huge wave of momentum going into the NCAAs. And Elijah had me pull this cut, but it's a couple minutes here of classic Calipari on winning the SEC tournament in year 2 at Arkansas.
So, when you've done this a long time and you're in the business of young people, it is about the name on the back of the jersey. Yes, we're doing it for Arkansas. But I'm so proud of DJ Wagner, what he did, the last rebound he got, the threes he hit, how he defended, the energy he brought. I am so happy for Nick and what he did, because Malik did not play well. And then all of a sudden, I'm proud of him because it's the first time this year he started that way. In the last 5 minutes, the reason we won was Malik Ewan. And then you had Malik Thomas. I went down on the bench because I wasn't going to put him back in, not because of him, because of what was happening on the court. And I walked down and I said, listen, I'm going to stick with this group. So, and he looks at me and says, I'm good. I'm great. And I hugged him, and then I gave him a kiss on the cheek. He was like, what the hell? But you look at it, you look at Billy, you look at how much Darius has grown, not only as a basketball player, as a leader. It's incredible. That's what we should be in the business for. You want to win, but it's the name on the back that I'm in the business for. Now, I kind of been that way and done all right at every school I've been at. So you could say it's wrong, or you can live with it. You could be peed off or peed on. I really don't care. And so this was, for these guys, can I tell them what I said in the pregame? So I said, guys, it's another game. We're trying to get better. Let's see where we are. We're holding our seed, and Nick Pringle in the back said,
hell no.
This is for a championship. And I said, if that's what you need me to say, great, let's go get this championship. I mean, this is about them. I've done this so long. There's stuff you do you don't even know. And I said it the other day. I don't have a rear view mirror in my car. I look one way, out, that way.
So obviously John Calipari feeling himself there in year number 2, winning the conference championship with with Arkansas, and we'll obviously see what that team's able to do if they can beat their success of a year ago of making it in the Sweet 16, which is the farthest he'd been in a tournament back to pre-COVID, Kentucky. And that led a lot of Kentucky fans to celebrate his departure, right? Because they felt like, Calipari had gotten to the end of his rope at Kentucky. It was time for a change. He goes to Arkansas for a boatload of money, and they're like, that's fine. They bring home a former Kentucky player, Mark Pope, coming over from BYU and say, hey, this is our guy now. We're going to believe in him. And, if you poll Kentucky fans right now, maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse. Now, again, they didn't choose to have John Calipari leave. He just left, and they had to react accordingly. But talk about two programs kind of turning in different directions right now. And again, Mark Pope also got Kentucky to the Sweet 16 a year ago, which is the farthest he'd ever been in a tournament. Never got past the first round when he was at BYU, but it's like, okay, first year, all right, fine, that's a decent run into the tournament. Year 2 is going to be better, right? It's not looking like that right now. Kentucky was a team that, as we've talked about many, many times in terms of the numbers that we're aware of from an NIL perspective, have spent more than anybody in the SEC. And not that Arkansas isn't spending a ton of money, because they are, but Kentucky is seemingly spending more, and they're not getting near the results as what Calipari's getting at Arkansas. And Calipari is a great coach, right? He's going to go down as one of the greatest the college basketball's ever seen. And there's just something about those guys. Yeah, maybe, things got old at Kentucky, but still capable of winning. Can they win the national championship? I don't know. But they're a team that's primed for another deep run into the NCAA tournament, whereas Kentucky, it's questionable, right? You just don't know. And again, a lot of Kentucky fans not loving where things are. First of all, they had to play on Wednesday of the SEC tournament. That is very beneath Big Blue Nation, right? To have to play that early, to scratch out wins against Kentucky and Missouri before getting eliminated by Florida. They're not feeling good right now, and that hot seat continues to increase and get hotter and hotter and hotter underneath Mark Pope. And again, you say it's only year number 2. Well, that's Kentucky. That's the standard they hold their coaches to. If you're not immediately successful, especially being a former player who knows it and should get it, then they're ready to run you out of town. Now, again, programs like Carolina would kill to, have been in the Sweet 16 last year and be in the tournament again this year. But the standard of Kentucky is obviously very, very different. So both those teams are going to be in the NCAA tournament. No doubt about that, or no denying that, obviously, at this point in time. But a handful of teams did not get into the NCAA tournament from the SEC, namely 6 of them, and 2 of them pretty darn interesting, including one perhaps being the most debated SEC team of the entire bracketology season. And we'll get into that coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing #250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
Get a free second pair of glasses with insurance at iMart Express. Now with an upgraded selection of over 150 frames to choose from. Pick one for when you're busy doing nothing, and one for when you're up for anything. Plus, with free same-day speed, go from booking an eye exam to walking out with new glasses in a blink. So you can take your vision benefits further, faster. iMart Express. Get glasses, go see.
Go the road less traveled. Unless the road more traveled would have actually gotten you there on time. Take the leap. Unless you're about to leap into a gator-infested lake, then do not leap. Don't even dip a toe. Anything is possible, like winning the lottery and not winning. And if that gets in the way of life's other possibilities, then it might be time to take a break. Because knowing your limits is an important part of becoming a better player and a better you. Learn more at scEducationLottery.com/betteryou.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
Mike Rowe here with another random fact. Those cracks on your walls aren't just cosmetic. They could mean your home is sinking. Whether it's drywall cracks, exterior cracks, or sticking doors or windows, do yourself a favor and call a Groundworks company. I spent some time working with these guys, and they're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to stabilize your foundation. Schedule a free inspection with Mount Valley Foundation Services, a Groundworks company.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
At Cato's Power Equipment, we pride ourselves on the relationships we build with you and with your lawnmower. Right now, you can own a Toro Time Cutter or Titan Zero Turn with payments as low as $100 a month and 0% financing for qualified buyers. Plus plenty of great financing offers for all credit scores. Now through April, Cato's will include a free 5-year extended warranty package backed by our Master Service Repair Center, because the tools you need to maintain your turf should come with the support you deserve. Come shop at Cato's Power Equipment, family owned since 1984.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-902-5454. That's 800-902-5454. 800-902-5454.
Powered by Integrated Media, the Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass. ShepherdsGlass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, the Game TV. Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
Start your day with Drake C. Toll.
I'm Drake Toll, on the air from 6 a.m. to 9 Eastern, getting you to work every day. To do that with Westwood One, the Oxford University of Names in Sports Media. Buckle up.
Then Black and Abdallah.
That shot was insane.
Is that what you would say on the air?
You're the play-by-play guy.
Abdallah being testy. All right, here we go.
And Westwood One Sports Night.
Stay on the line, get on the call, talk about whatever you want. That's what we're doing on Westwood One Sports Night.
Westwood One Sports Talk. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. What team sprung a leak this weekend? Sponsored by American Leak Detection on the Extra Point.
All right, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on the Game. We'll get back into the NCAA tournament, how the SEC fared, and who got left out coming up in just a moment. But we'll stick in the SEC with Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over at American Leak Detection. And we'll go to SEC baseball yesterday. Game number 3, a rubber match of the series between Tennessee and Georgia over there at Foley Field in Athens. Tennessee down 1 run in the top of the 9th inning with a runner on first and 2 outs. Stone Lawless comes up to the plate and thinks he may have hit a game-winning home run, or at least a lead-taking home run, and then this happened.
Bird in the 8th. Here's the 0-1. Hit deep out into left field. This has got a shot. It is going to be... He went over the wall! Cole Johnson with one of the greatest catches in Georgia history, and the Dogs win 8-7. Are you serious?
That was my buddies Jeff Dantzler and David Johnson on the call. I knew they were going to lose their minds on that one. Yeah, Cole Johnson robs the home run at the fence, over the fence. The ball was going over, and he goes up there and robs it, and Georgia ends up winning that game and ultimately winning the series. And one part, if you see the clip of the ball being hit, you don't see Stone Lawless just absolutely spikes his bat into the ground, thinking he's hitting a lead-taking home run. At that point in time, ends up not being the case, and you can just see the look on his face of bewilderment once he sees that that home run was robbed. But, yeah, there's your Who Sprung a Leak, brought to you by our friends over the American League Protection. Going to Stone Lawless of the Tennessee Volunteers for maybe celebrating a little bit too early for the ball had left the yard in their series there against Georgia. But getting back into the conversation about SEC basketball, over the weekend, again, we learned that 10 of the 16 teams did make the tournament. Obviously, you're down a couple from where you were a year ago with the greatest, amount of teams to ever make the tournament from a single conference ever, with 14 a season ago. Again, Carolina and LSU are the only two that didn't get in. So a little bit down this year, which kind of makes sense based on kind of how we saw the SEC and it played out. One team that made a strong push for themselves to try and get in based on what they were doing at the SEC tournament was Oklahoma, who, again, started off their week last week, beating Carolina on Wednesday. They beat A&M on Thursday, and then they lose a tight game to Arkansas on Friday, but they thought maybe they had done enough to get themselves into the tournament conversation. They end up being in the first 4-out category, but it was enough to save Porter Moser's job. As we talked about heading into the last couple weeks of the regular season, he, like Lamont Paris, Matt McMahon, were all in that hot seat conversation when it came to SEC head men's basketball coaches. And we learned over the weekend, per Roger Denny, the athletic director at Oklahoma, that he was going to be retained for another year. And stop me if you've heard this one before. In his statement that he released on Twitter, he says it's on Coach Moser to make sure that our team's performance continues to meet and exceed our resources for the program. He's done that, and I'm confident he will continue, but an underdog spirit will only take us so far. It's my job to ensure that our resources match our expectations. We haven't held that up on our end of the bargain from NAL to staffing and beyond, and we're going to fix that. So much like we hear with Jeremiah Donati, with Lamont Paris, there's a promise of more resources. Now, for what he spent, they got a pretty good amount of talent, you would say. Obviously, Nigel Pack, we saw what he did against Carolina last week and what a big factor he's been for that team this year. So they're promising more resources to Porter Moser as he will get another opportunity out there in Oklahoma. One team that was the most hotly debated team in the SEC heading into conference tournaments was, of course, the Auburn Tigers, as they had not had a great regular season. They had ended up faltering down the stretch and knew they had to win a couple of games out there in Nashville to make a better case for themselves to make the NCAA tournament. They beat Mississippi State. They have a 10-point lead on Tennessee with about 10 minutes to go in round number 2 on Wednesday. They blow that, and they are eliminated. But, and if you saw it on Twitter, they're putting out graphics, and Stephen Pearl, as you would expect him to, is up there campaigning for his team. They end up, much like Oklahoma, being in that first 4-out category. Not good enough, no matter what their strength of schedule is and all that kind of stuff. They end up coming up short, though, funny enough, they are the number 1 seed in the NIT, if that's any kind of consolation prize. We'll see how much they care to play in that thing. By the way, Carolina did not receive an NIT bid. Shocker, I know. But, yeah, the debate of would Auburn get in ends up being a no. And Bruce Pearl, who, funny enough, is on the Bracket Reveal show on CBS, gave his thoughts last night on Auburn missing the tournament.
that turned out to be a better game than what people thought it was going to be because Ole Miss did so well in the SEC tournament. Auburn beat three champions this year. They beat Florida, they beat St. John's, and they beat Arkansas. They played the toughest schedule in the country. Don't know that they were rewarded for it. It's hard to get another couple of SEC teams in when the SEC already has 10.
So, look, Bruce Pearl is a great coach, was a great coach plenty of times, Tennessee, and obviously Auburn. And darn near got him to a national championship game a year ago, coming up a little bit short. But man, he has done himself, or he's really done his son zero favors, right? Outside of getting him the job, and he admitted a couple weeks ago, hey, yeah, he got a job because of nepotism. So what? But he's not done anything to help the cause, right? Whether it be this whining on TV at the SEC tournament, he's over there yelling at referees the other day. It's one of those things that, like, I think he's got to let Steven sink or swim on his own, right? Because through this entire first season, and Auburn's had some good moments, everybody still looks at Steven as Bruce's son, right? Because, again, he got the job because Bruce Pearl retired right before the season and basically forced the hand of the university. He also admitted to that, to hire his kid, right? Like, hey, he's going to be the head coach now. There's nothing you can do about it. As opposed to if Bruce Pearl retires in April of last year after getting eliminated in the Final Four, then there's a coaching search. They can go after a lot of different candidates, and who knows who's coaching Auburn, but it probably wouldn't be Steven Pearl. So he forces the hand of the university, hire his son, doesn't really allow players to go anywhere because it was a month before the season started at that point in time. And then every time he's gone on TV, he's just really kind of embarrassed himself and his kid, right? And there were countless team Twitter accounts dunking on him over the week, and it's just a bad look all around. And should he be on TV with this kind of lean? I don't know, but thankfully, Auburn didn't get included in this. We can avoid that controversy, and we can obviously move on. But there on the outside, Oklahoma, obviously, no surprise, South Carolina, Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State all end up missing out on the NCAA tournament. As again, it was a little bit of a, down year, just a little bit more step back to the norm when it comes to the SEC and how many teams they got in. They did get the most in. Once again, with 10 teams, Big Ten got 9, ACC and Big 12 ended up getting 10, and we'll obviously see how all those teams end up faring when it comes to the NCAA tournament. But yeah, the biggest controversy when it comes to, would Auburn get in, obviously ends up not being the case there, and that means that yes, indeed, Miami of Ohio did in fact get themselves into the NCAA tournament despite losing to Frank Martin's UMass team the other day. Now they're going to have to play their way in because they got SMU in the play-in round coming up on Wednesday. But they are in to some degree nonetheless. And again, as we said last week, I get it that their strength of schedule isn't great, net rankings, all that kind of stuff doesn't measure up to a lot of these other teams. But they did win 31 straight games, and no matter who that's against, especially in basketball, winning 31 straight has to mean something, right? So they get a bid, they get in. They're going to have to play their way in against SMU, but they're at least getting an opportunity, and I think everybody's going to be tuning in. By the way, the game's on True TV, as all the first 4 games are, and this is the time of year where it's really funny to look at Google Analytics of how many people Google, hey, what channel is True TV on? Because unless you're watching reruns of Impractical Jokers, you're probably not watching a lot of True TV these days. But, of course, across the CBS and TNT, TBS networks, they encapsulate the entire tournament. So that's where we'll see that game coming up on Wednesday. The first set of first 4 games coming up tomorrow got Howard and UMBC. And then you have NC State and Texas. So Texas gets their way in, but they're going to have to play their way in through Dayton in the first 4. But that's the only team in the play-in round for the SEC. Florida ends up being one of the number 1 overall seeds despite the way they got bounced in the SEC tournament, alongside Michigan and Duke and obviously Arizona as well. UConn ends up being a number 2 seed, and, well, look for a local connection here. They end up getting Furman. Now, Furman, I think, was a lot of people's potential trendy pick when it comes to a team to follow through the month of March. Again, Bob Ricci did a great job with them in terms of winning the SoCon there. And, again, they got really good size and all that kind of stuff that might be an advantage for them. But, man, UConn, especially a frustrated UConn team that didn't enter the tournament the way they wanted to, could be a tough day for Furman. Again, nothing's impossible. We've seen 15s upset 2s before. I don't love Furman's chances, but I'm going to be tuned in nonetheless. That game coming up on, it's a late tip, by the way, Friday at 10 o'clock. And we'll see how that ends up going for Furman out there. But there's a little bit of a look at the bracket there. Again, we'll get more specifically into these matchups as the week goes along. But 10 teams in the SEC, and I got to fill out my bracket too. I've only had one really successful bracket. That was back 2019 when Baylor and Gonzaga played for the national championship. If Gonzaga had won, because I picked them, then I think I would have won like $200 in an office pool. But Baylor won, so I won nothing. So I've had history of being okay at this before, and maybe I can replicate some of that success. As I got to fill out my bracket at some point this week. But again, we'll talk plenty about this as the week goes along. Looking forward to the tournament getting started properly coming up on Thursday, where again we're going to be out at Twin Peaks Thursday and Friday from 12 until 6, talking and watching along with all of you the NCAA tournament out there. So looking forward to that. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2, hit what our future headlines of the weekend were supposed to be for myself and Jack Veltri, as well as the case against tournament expansion and some thoughts on that too. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Monday on The Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
The Game phone lines at 803-404-6100. Sponsored by AAA Heating and Air. Now offering 12-month payment plans on all HVAC or electrical repairs with no credit check. Online at callAAAtoday.com.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
Out of all 4 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament, Duke, Florida, Arizona, and Michigan, the one that I think is on biggest upset alert is Florida. Florida might have to play Vandy in the Sweet 16. Vandy thumped Florida in the SEC tournament, and then potentially Houston in a national championship game rematch in the regional final. I think Duke makes it. You can make the case for Arizona and Michigan. Florida on upset alert. I'm Nick Costos.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wendy's has a new Girl Scout Thin Mints Frosty Fusion with Girl Scout Thin Mints cookie pieces, rich creamy frosty, and a mint chocolate cookie sauce. Which means Girl Scout Thin Mints and Wendy's Frosty, yeah, they're basically best friends now. It's like 2 delicious desserts just high-fived, snapped a few too many friendship selfies, and then rode a tandem bike down a never-ending road of mint chocolate frosty perfection. So, swing by Wendy's and try the new Thin Mints Frosty Fusion.
Limited time only at participating U.S. This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-796-9107 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-796-9107. That's 800-796-9107. What do you have to lose? Call 800-796-9107. Again, 800-796-9107.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh, yeah. The Extra Point with Tyler Head.
And the kick is good.
Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head wrapping up the hour here on your Monday on the Game. Reminder, coming up in just a couple of weeks on April 3rd, that's a Friday, will be our Spring Golf Classic over at Charwood Golf Club in West Columbia, featuring Saki's Morning Libations Bar, providing the beverages. Onion sausages will also be provided by the Lexington Gamecock Club, and the Golf Gun makes its return as well. $400 for a team. If you want to sign up, give Charwood a call at 803-755-2000 and press the number 2 to register for the Game's Spring Golf Classic. As we do each Friday, I know Jack wasn't here, but I got him to submit his headline ahead of the weekend. We give our future headlines of the weekend, what we think is going to happen across the sports landscape and what we're going to be talking about come Monday morning. And for me, I went with, I think Miami of Ohio is going to get into the NCAA tournament. And lo and behold, they did. Now, again, they're going to have to play their way in by virtue of the first four matching up with SMU coming up on Wednesday, but they're in regardless. Auburn gets left on the outside looking in. I think it's going to be a fun story to watch. Like, you know, and gosh, UCLA went from being, an 11 in the play-in to their deep run a couple years ago, so nothing's impossible. There's something to be said about a team that routinely found ways to win games, even if some of them weren't pretty against teams that weren't all that great. They still found a way to win at the end of the day. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the tournament coming up here in a couple of days. Jack went with the World Baseball Classic, where his future headline prediction was that America was going to get past Canada and the Dominican Republic to reach the finals coming up on Tuesday night. And lo and behold, Jack was indeed correct. America dispatches of Canada 5-3 on Friday night. Then last night in the semifinals, they beat the Dominican Republic 2-1 in a crazy, intense, tight game. Talk about homers getting robbed. Aaron Judge had one robbed over the wall last night as well. 2-1 ball game, comes down to quite literally the final strike. There is some debate coming away from that game, and if you watched it live, you'll know that Mason Miller struck out Perdomo there in the bottom of the ninth inning as Dominican Republic was the home team. And when you have the little tracker of where the ball ended up, it was low, right? And it was a struck out looking pitch there that thankfully for America, there was no ABS review. I know some guys early on tried to do that, but there's no ABS in the World Baseball Classic, where if there was, that probably would have been ruled a ball, and Perdomo would have got another opportunity there, but there wasn't. America does end up escaping with the win 2-1 last night over the Dominican Republic, and look ahead to the championship matchup coming up on Tuesday night, as they will await the winner of tonight's matchup between the Venezuela and Italy. Again, they already beat Italy once. Venezuela ends up pulling up the upset of Japan on Saturday. So that game coming up tonight. Let's see, that is at 8 o'clock on FS1. And again, the winner takes on America coming up on Tuesday night, where America, of course, fell in the last World Baseball Classic final to Japan going back to 2023. So excited for that. And Jack, again, was right on his headline prediction. We both were, so that was cool. One thing is, as I was watching the bracket being unveiled last night, And again, you look at teams like Auburn, Oklahoma, Indiana was right there on the verge on the outside looking in. At no point in watching that did I think, this thing should really be expanded, right? Like, I love the NCAA tournament where it's at. I think 68, 64, 68, however you want to phrase it, is the right amount of teams. There's symmetry within the bracket. It's great. I don't see a need to expand to 76 because then Auburn would have been in, Oklahoma. Well, I think San Diego State was right there on the first 4 out as well. So you're just lowering the line of mediocrity. Because here's the thing. Even if Auburn makes it in, and if I'm an Auburn fan, I don't know, maybe I'm happy I didn't make it in because you would have probably not gotten very far in the thing anyway. You're just adding in more below average to mediocre teams from Power 4. That doesn't really enhance the tournament a whole lot, right? And look, money wins out at the end of the day, greed and all that kind of stuff. That may be the reason this thing ultimately expands in the next handful of years, and there's nothing I can do to stop that. For the time being, I'm going to enjoy the fact that we have a 68-team, 64-team, again, however you want to phrase it, proper bracket in March Madness. Again, will they expand it? Probably. And if they do, I'm hoping it's at least just expanding the play-ins, not the actual proper bracket of 64. But again, I think we're good where we're at right now. It's plenty. It's exciting. And again, I don't feel the need to lower the standard to let more of these subpar teams into the NCAA tournament. I've always been a believer that, postseason play, playoffs, tournaments, whatever you want to call it, should be exclusive, not inclusive. And unfortunately, a lot of leagues around there, pro leagues, have gone to letting more teams in, which, ratings and revenue and TV and all that kind of stuff. I know why they do it, but I like when, postseasons are meant for only the best of the best. And look, yeah, you let a lot of teams in that are, not national championship contenders, but again, I think we've settled on 64 being a good number. It's been that for a while, and I certainly vote that it ends up staying that way. John Rothstein's been campaigning for that one as well, and I'll vote him for commissioner of college basketball if we do ever end up getting to that point. But no, I'm excited. It should be fun. Again, can kind of pick which team you want to follow, see what Cinderellas emerge and all that. And I think the beautiful thing about March Madness is we sit here on Monday is there is likely some like pudgy dude with weird facial hair at some school that you've never heard of before that's going to end up being the talk of the sports world by this upcoming weekend. And I think that's beautiful. And I love that. And I can't wait to see these stories emerge, what Cinderellas make their way through the tournament. And should be a lot of fun. We'll talk about it plenty as the week goes along. But coming up next is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Shh, here it comes. Surprise! The people above your catering business are doing major construction, and the drilling is only during business hours. So loud.
Progressive knows small business owners usually don't like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting personalized discounts on a commercial auto quote with Progressive.
Also, that isn't powdered sugar on the floor. It's plaster from your ceiling.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do? My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass, shepherdsglass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Shepherd's Glass.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratchy scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night. Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
Columbia, Josh loves the spring, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
We have a cedar-sided home at the end of the woods, painted like 1980s beige. We wanted something that was more of a mid-century and modern look. We were driving around and we saw a sign in somebody's yard that said Rhino Shield. It's not paint.
It's not paint, it's better.
We gave Rhino Shield a call, and they were fantastic with the arrangement on the schedule. The 25-year guarantee was important to us. This is our forever home, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to last a long time.
Columbia, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield now for 15% off the regular price.
I'd say if you're thinking about Rhino Shield, just do it. It's been 2 years now, and it still looks like the day it went on.
Here's owner Dan Hoey.
This offer's limited, so call today at 833-RHINO-99 or visit RhinoShieldCarolina.com. Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Want to unlock the power of athlete marketing to grow your business? Garnet Trust has recently launched a business membership program, making it easier than ever for your business to work directly with a USC student athlete. Visit GarnetTrust.com today or call 803-250-1765 to see your business boom.
Run the Cup, the Governor's Cup Road Race, sponsored by Lexington Health. Be part of history in downtown Columbia at one of the longest running and most prestigious road races in the Southeast. The Half Marathon, 5K, and Main Street Mile are open for registration. Kids can run for free in the Kids Main Street Mile. And don't miss the post-race celebration with music, food, vendors, and a special awards ceremony. Join Lexington Health and register now for the Governor's Cup Road Race, April 10th and 11th. Learn more at runthecup.com.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of Whirlpool appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Whirlpool offers bigger, better, and more efficient appliances, and Jeffers McGill offers the best in customer service and low prices. Jeffers McGill and Whirlpool, your home team.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Your home for the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus media station. He throws it down. The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head and Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network.
Make sure to turn my microphone on there. Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Monday. We'll certainly get back into the basketball conversation in just a moment. Again, please stay safe out there if you're out and about, as I know it's windy and raining and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully I don't still have the tornado watch alert going on above me, so hopefully we're getting out of tornado-y type of weather.
Did you just have a false start to start the show for the first show of the week for Gamecock Central Takeover?
I did. I pressed the wrong button. I was wondering why I couldn't hear myself, and that was why. You know, it's Monday, man. It happens.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I was about to freak out a little bit because I'm doing this one remotely, and I was like, wait a second, I can't hear a thing Tyler's saying. So we're all good now. Yeah, stay safe out there. Where I'm at right now, we just got rain, man. But I do know there's the possibility of tornadoes, high winds, all that. So everybody just be safe out there and, don't go running all around town unless you got to.
Yeah, tomorrow and Wednesday going to be kind of cool, dipping back into the 50s. Beautiful, beautiful weekend ahead in the 70s, up to 83 on Sunday. But unfortunately, Wes, as South Carolina will be hosting Arkansas for their first SEC series at home this weekend, I don't know how many people are showing up because the results we got over the weekend down in Gainesville, not great, to say the least.
No, and, man, Tyler, that Friday game was just a brutal loss. And, I think you always kind of look at these series, at least I do, try to look at them from a game-by-game standpoint, and then you try to zoom out and look at them from, hey, the full series standpoint, and then you zoom out and try to look at them from the context of, like, the entire season. And, unfortunately, man, it kind of just does feel like more of the same for South Carolina going all the way back to last year. Now, let's give credit to this pitching staff. I think they kind of ran out of pitching a little bit on Sunday, or had some guys who weren't quite as sharp as they were, when they were going out there for their second time of the weekend. But, you pitched well enough to win on Friday and Saturday. And certainly you did on Friday. And on Saturday, you pitched well enough to be in the game late. And for the most part, you really weren't. And, man, this is a Florida pitching staff that is incredibly talented, that does, it seemed like every guy they rolled out there was throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. So that they're not – it's not like they're a team you're going to go out there and just put up 9 runs a game against. However – when it goes completely in the opposite direction and you just don't score at all for 2 full games, it's just frankly not good enough. You got to think, if you are a good offensive ball club, if you're an average offensive ball club comparative to the rest of the SEC, that you're going to be able to scratch across a couple of runs here or there. Tyler, you watch enough baseball games, you see games where maybe you say, well, we had the bases loaded 3 times and we had runners at second and third a 4th time, and we just didn't get hits. Like, you see some games like that where maybe the actual score kind of doesn't quite dictate how the game played out in terms of you giving yourself some chances. I thought the disappointing thing, man, especially on Friday, like you just aren't getting enough hits to even put yourself in a position, to go make a play. And so that puts you in a spot, Tyler, where if you do make a mistake or you have kind of a controversial decision, such as, the 3-0 green light where Scobie, he gets the green light, then he swings and he pops up in kind of and flies out really in make your biggest at-bat of the game, that gets magnified.
Right.
Really, to me, dude, baseball is about giving yourself, knowing it's a game of failure, you got to give yourself, it's like shots on goal in soccer. Give yourself enough bites at the apple to where you're going to be able to kind of break through in at least part of those opportunities. They're just not even getting enough of those opportunities, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a very similar vibe from coming away from the Clemson series, and I'll share with you the numbers of the 2 combined series and how they did offensively in a moment, because obviously they're not good. But, we said against the Clemson series, because you had that phenomenal outing from Josh Gunther and Alex Valentin on that Friday night that won you the game, but the rest of the weekend, you couldn't do enough offensively because you had 12 total hits, 4 across each of those games to muster up enough to be able to steal one of those 2 other games. And the same thing this past weekend, 11 total hits over the course of 3 games, 26 innings, only 1 inning you scored runs in, that being where Juhas hit the 3-run homer yesterday. It's just not enough. And you're right, with performances you're getting out of guys like Gunther and Ant Phillips, you do that routinely every single weekend and have average offense, you're probably going to be able to win a couple series. But now you're to the point where it's like, well, the offense isn't even close to average. It's well below that, bottom of the SEC in most statistical categories, and it's only going to get tougher from here. Florida is a good pitching staff. I wouldn't say that's the best one you're going to see this entire year. There's going to be more coming, including Arkansas this upcoming weekend. So you're kind of looking for those, like, rays of hope when it comes to the offense, but especially as you get closer to the halfway point in the season, you just kind of are what you are at one point. And it kind of feels like that's what this team is, just a team that can't hit the ball consistently against decent to good pitching.
Yeah, and, I think it's one of those things for me, man, too, where you keep waiting, like, all right, how much of this is kind of they've just gotten in a deep rut, hitting is contagious, not hitting is contagious. You keep waiting for that moment where you're like, okay, maybe they broke through. Maybe there's something there. Maybe they can build off that. To this point, that just hasn't happened. And I think, to your point, man, there were definitely signs, even against quote-unquote lesser competition, that there, was trouble offensively. And these are guys that, Tyler, here's the thing for me. These are guys that kind of you talk about the back of the baseball card. You say, all right, there's a resume here for a lot of these guys. It's not like they've had no success in their career to this point. And so you may say, well, that wasn't against SEC pitching. Well, these signs of possible trouble on the offensive side have been there since well before SEC play began. You know what I'm saying? So you would have thought that these guys who came in with these resumes could go out and hit before you got into conference play. And so, man, I think South Carolina to me feels honestly much like last year's squad did to a degree, even much like the men's basketball team did to me. I think there is a trend in the portal era. You go out and you get as many guys as you can out of the transfer portal who you feel like, this guy has a chance to be good. This guy, especially if they take another step forward, they could really help us out. And, you kind of feel like for basketball, you might go get like 10 guys and you're like, well, if half of them play better than they have to this point in their career, we'll be in pretty good shape. For baseball, you're going, man, if we got these 15 guys, surely out of the 15, half of our new guys will be pretty good players. And then you just get in this spot where you're just constantly rotating your lineup, trying to figure out what's our best group of players. And unfortunately, you don't get any consistency in doing that. And you're kind of stuck. Okay, well, you plug in somebody new on Sunday. He hits a 3-run bomb. Okay, is he the starter now? Or was that a small sample size? He ran into one, and, he's just going to do the same thing everybody else did if you plug him in there. So I think you're just the teams that are really good right now are the ones that are like Maneri talked about for Clemson. Hey, they got their 10, 11 guys that are going to play, and they know who's playing, and they plug them in there, and they go play. And so I don't know, man. I really feel like a lot of teams that I'll put South Carolina in this category have leaned too far into the transfer portal being the way you fix everything. And, the difference right now in men's basketball and in baseball is that, yes, you can argue whatever you want about men's basketball, but they did not have comparatively the resources that baseball did this offseason going into the baseball season compared to the basketball season. So say whatever you want about, well, they still should have won more games, etc. Throw all that aside. The fact of it is baseball had what they needed on paper to go in the portal and get guys you need to win games. And to their credit, they are pitching better this year. They did get some guys who can help you there. But as we know, man, in the SEC, there is no – the league's so strong, Tyler, in my opinion, there is no just win with one way.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be a strong SEC team, you better pitch, you better play defense, and you better be able to hit at least to a certain degree if you're going to have any chance of being a top half of the league team. Obviously, this team right now doesn't appear to be close to that.
Well, and it's funny, and I mentioned this earlier too, the comparisons between the conversations we're having about baseball and what we're having about men's basketball going back for the past couple of months, but I extend this even to football as well, where last year we looked at the way the defense was playing, particularly keeping Carolina in a lot of those games in the fourth quarter, saying if you had just an average offense, you probably win a handful more of those games, or at least go into a bowl game. Maybe you're winning 7 games or something along those lines, but the offense wasn't anywhere near where it needed to be, and that's a big reason why you ended up going 4-8. And we're kind of dealing with the same thing here, where one of the big things of the portal was going out there and getting guys that throw harder, getting guys that can be your consistent Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys, still trying to figure out the Sunday role as well. But again, you're looking at what Josh Gunther and Ant Phillips gave you and said, hey, if you can get that out of those guys or something close to that every weekend, you're going to give yourself a chance. But if you're scoring in 1 of 26 innings or 4 of 26 against Clemson from a couple weeks ago, you're not going to win anything, right? And, last year was historically bad from the standpoint of only winning 6 games. If you don't improve on offense in your next 9 series, you're going to have trouble winning 6 games this year in SEC play. Like, I hate to be negative in that way, but I'm just not seeing enough to think it's going to change.
Yeah, I don't really think you're being negative, man. I think that's the reality, and will never pretend we got it all figured out in sports. Like, can that switch get flipped at some point, and maybe these guys show, hey, they are better than what they've shown so far? I will never rule that out. It's always a possibility, but we're in this speaking of same conversations, we're in that same conversation where we get later and later in the year and we're going, well, are we going to see it at some point, or is this just truly who they are? And baseball is it's a weird game, man, as you know. And, you can get in a deep rut, a deep slump. And if you're not where you need to be mentally, and it all just, it kind of rubs off on each other, it can get, you don't play up to what your potential is. And especially when you're talking about small sample sizes. The problem is right now the sample size is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So now, Tyler, the thing is, you just look ahead at this schedule. There aren't any get right weekends in SEC play. I mean, congratulations, welcome to Columbia, Arkansas. A lot of the teams, pretty much just about every team you play on your SEC schedule is a top 25 team, and several of them are top 10 teams. So that's a talented Florida team they just got swept by. But you dare say, I mean, how many of the teams you're going to play the rest of the way are better than this Florida team, at least in what we think they are? I do think that was a super talented team. There's no doubt. But, Tyler, Florida gave you your biggest chances were when Florida was booting the ball. They gave you opportunities, man. And you're not going to win games if you already have these issues we talk about, and then you have what happened on the 3-0 count. Then you have a pop-up that you don't run out all the way to second base. You're not good enough as a team right now to not run that ball out. You're just not. So it goes beyond just talent in some cases.
I'll share my combined stats from the series between Clemson and Florida because it's a 6-game sample size, and you're not going to be surprised. It's not good. We'll hit that coming up next as we continue the conversation about Gamecock baseball in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Friday, April 3rd, the Spring Golf Classic at Charwood in West Columbia with our buddies Rock and Daniel Lucas. And we have Saki's Morning Libations Bar before tee-off. Also, the classic onion sausage presented by the Lexington Gamecock Club. Yeah, I know you're going to ask. We have the golf gun. All that Friday, April 3rd. Again, $400 a team, $100 for an individual. 803-755-2000 and press number 2. April 3rd. It's the Spring Golf Classic from The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at HerndonChevy.com.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
LinkedIn is pretty amazing at helping you grow your small business. We cannot stop your new clients from emailing you at 3 a.m. We can help you sell, market, and hire in one place. We cannot help you be in 3 places at once. And while we can't help you organize your calendar, LinkedIn can help you land more clients so you have a calendar to organize. Grow your small business on LinkedIn. Learn more at linkedin.com/smallbusiness.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. For auto, home, and commercial glass, shepherdsglass.com. In Chapin and West Columbia, The Game TV, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Glass. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. My best advice to you when hiring a lawyer for your injury case is simple. If you know court personnel, ask them who they'd hire. They know. If you know an insurance adjuster, ask them. They know. And then ask them about us. Ask them about Morgan & Morgan. They know. I look forward to talking to you soon. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm for the people.
Injured? Dial Pound Law.
Joe Sandifer, Esquire, 11915 Plaza Drive, Suite 301, Burroughs Inlet, South Carolina, 29576.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA Heating and Air now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling 803-677-1500 for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips of 1075 sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
There's still time to register for this year's Cocky Trot, but act quick because early bird pricing ends this Sunday. Join Gamecock fans of all ages for the 5K or the shorter fun run and walk on Saturday, April 25th at 9 a.m. Registration includes your commemorative race shirt and finisher medal while you run through Gamecock Park and the indoor and outdoor football practice facilities. Register today at GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot and take advantage of the early bird pricing. That's GamecocksOnline.com/CockyTrot.
If you've ever been to a Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union, you know there's something different about the people who work there. They're the type of people who mail a wallet they found on the street back to the owner, who always share their fries, who say bless you when you sneeze, even if it's like 5 sneezes in a row, who get just as excited when something good happens to you as if it happened to them. You know what? Maybe you should just stop by sometime and see for yourself. Palmetto Citizens. Feel the love. Federally insured by NCUA.
Need a roof? Trust Crescent Construction. With over 20,000 roofs installed and counting, they've got the experience you need. They specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, and general contracting. Visit CrescentCarolina.com today for free estimates and free inspections. That's right, no cost, no commitment. Crescent Construction, quality you can count on. For all your roofing and construction needs, visit CrescentCarolina.com now.
Average Amy's. Our coffee has caffeine and our muffins are cooked.
You're not average. Your marketing results shouldn't be either. Cumulus Digital outperforms industry benchmarks by over 25%. Visit CumulusDigital.com to start outperforming today.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Well, yeah, it's got a lot of emphasis, Jack. I mean, believe me, we're working at it every day. Like I told you, Monty's working really hard with the kids every day. We're all working with them, and, the kids are working hard. It's just, the results haven't been what we want yet, obviously. So, yeah, we got 27 more conference games, and, got a tough team coming in next week in Arkansas, but we got a tough game on Tuesday, and we're going to just keep working at it and try to figure out the right combination. But, I can't say it's not a little frustrating at times. The kids are, they're trying, but, we just got to keep working with them and keep getting better.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Monday on the Game, recapping a tough weekend series for South Carolina down in Gainesville, of course, getting swept, including getting run-ruled yesterday in game number 3. Paul Mainieri there after the third game talking about the emphasis on hitting going forward because, again, that's the area of this team that obviously is the biggest concern because your pitching is shown to be good to really good at times like it was on Friday and Saturday, but the offense just not there as of right now. And, now you've had 6 total games against Power 4 opponents, 3 against Clemson, which you won one of them, and then the 3 over the weekend against Florida. And I went and combined some of the important offensive stats, and, Wes, they're not great. Your combined batting average is 123. You've gone 7 of 31 with runners in scoring position, 9 of 74 with runners on base. You've struck out 58 times, and you've only scored in 5 of 52 possible innings over the course of those 6 games. And again, as we get deeper and deeper into this, it just kind of becomes your identity, right? As I've said before, when it comes to hitting philosophy, when it comes to development, that's the stuff that gets done in the offseason. It's really hard to just change things up in the middle of the season. You just kind of have what you have at some point, and I'm afraid that we just have a team that's not going to be able to hit the ball effectively against good pitching.
Yeah, and unfortunately, man, I feel like it's one of those things where it snowballs too. Like when all you hear about is, hey, we can't hit, or kind of like a team that doesn't hit well with runners in scoring position. Oh, man, can't hit with runners in scoring position. Let's work on that in practice. Let's work on situational hitting. Man at third, nobody out. Let's work on move the runner over, guys at second, nobody out. And the more you kind of work on those things, the more you get in those situations and you're like mentally, oh, man, it's running in scoring position. I have to come through here. It's on me. And then what happens? You press. And when you press, you are not performing to the best of your ability. And so, I think there's a little bit of that with some of these guys. But then, even at its best, what is the upside for this lineup? To this point, like they haven't just given South Carolina fans a ton of reason to be excited. And then throw in the fact that, I think on Friday, neither team did much of anything. The pitching was great, and frankly, there was a little bit of tough luck in that game in particular. I don't want to excuse them, for scoring no runs, and certainly didn't play well enough on Saturday or Sunday overall. But you look at the ball that does fall for Florida for a double, compared to a hot shot up the middle for South Carolina that the second baseman stabs. I mean, that's baseball, which to me, though, is why the best offensive teams are the ones that are able to just keep putting themselves in those spots. Give yourself as many opportunities as you can with runners in scoring position. And, there was a ton of discussion about that call to green light Scobie on 3-0. I keep going back to that, Tyler. The thing about it to me, and we've seen teams, it used to be, certainly when I was growing up, Tyler, probably even when you were growing up, with, as you like to remind us, you being younger than all of us, 3-0 green light used to not be a thing.
No, you stand there with the bat on your shoulder until they throw you a strike.
Yes, and now, but because all the pitchers pitch backwards, they'll throw you a curveball chain. They'll throw you something off speed, on 3-1, on 3-2. It's been, the straightest pitch we're getting and the best pitch we're getting is 3-0. Let's try to run into one. I think the thing that, in hindsight, but even without hindsight, the Florida pitcher seemed to be reeling at that point, Tyler.
Yeah.
So 3-0, even if you greenlight someone, you got to be saying, I'm only swinging if this is an absolute meatball. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. And then, and I'm not picking on Scobie. Obviously, he's not the reason South Carolina is 0-3 in SEC play. But it just shows you how, when you have so many limited opportunities, that one decision can cost you a chance to actually score some runs because you're not giving yourself multiple opportunities. But then the very next batter, Tyler, the first pitch is also a ball. It is in the dirt, and it gets swung at.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going, are you really at the plate considering the context of the fact that this pitcher is reeling right now? Like, to me, a 3-0 green light with a guy who has great control and isn't reeling, or a 3-0 green light when you're scoring a bunch of runs and it's just like, hey, we're hacking up here, man. Like, we're feeling good about ourselves. That is a different thing than the situation South Carolina was in there on Friday.
Yeah, and it was Lizama that flew out the batter after that. But let's say Scobie does draw a walk there. You already had Craddock get hit by the pitch. You would have had two guys on. Let's say Lizama still flies out. Well, then Sutter and Evans get walked, which at that point in time led to the bases loaded. You could have walked in a run in the top of the ninth where runs were absolutely at a premium. And again, who knows what happens in the bottom of the ninth there. But if everything else stays the same, could have been enough to win you the game. But you're right, there is. And every coach has their own philosophy on this. And a couple years ago, Carolina was a team that was not afraid to draw walks, take those free passes. And since Maneri's gotten here, and I don't know if it's him and Imani Lee butting heads or whatever it may be, but they're a lot more hesitant to take some of those free passes, trying to be more aggressive at the plate. And that's a classic situation of how that can really bite you in a tight game like that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. But it doesn't feel like just everything that can go wrong for them right now is going wrong. Like even the stuff that's out of their control seems to be going against them. But it gets compiled, it gets amplified when the stuff that is in your control goes against you as well. So, and Tyler, I want to mention something you said earlier. How many people will be in the park on this weekend against Arkansas? It's hard enough to win games on the road. You want for your home field to be a home field advantage.
Right.
And I'm not picking on the fans by saying this. The state the program is in right now, and let's add in, dude, what happened in men's basketball, what happened in football. It is hard to blame the fans for being checked out right now.
Sure.
Like there is no blame at all on them for being checked out right now. You don't have to be a top 5 team for South Carolina fans to get out and support you and create a great atmosphere. However, they do have to feel like you're going to go be competitive. And unfortunately, Gamecock fans just are not used to seeing what they've seen from this baseball program the last season and a half.
Yeah, no, you got to have something that's going to want to bring people in. And again, as the weather gets nicer, people have other options of things they want to do on Saturdays and Sundays and stuff like that. And if you're not giving them a good product on the field, they're not going to want to go see that in action. So again, that game coming up this weekend, or a series coming up this weekend against Arkansas. They got Charlotte in a midweek coming up tomorrow afternoon. We'll switch over to basketball coming up next because the women's team knows what their bracket looks like. We'll dive into that. Let's hear from Dawn Staley as well on the other side as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs rolls on your Monday on the Game.
Wow, what a play. The Game Network. Columbia, Charleston, Florence, and Myrtle Beach.
Everybody loves streaming till you have to pay for it. Just download the 107.5 The Game app and stream us for free.
These days, everybody's searching for ways to save on insurance. Scrolling comparison sites, digging through tips, chasing deals, but Liberty Mutual makes it simple. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance to save you money. And when you bundle, those savings really come through. It's insurance built for real people, with a team that goes above and beyond to help you keep more of what matters. No hunting, no hassle, just confidence that your coverage customized with savings in mind. Start your quote at libertymutual.com. 2 words, prostate exam. Relax. Screening starts with a simple finger-free blood test. Around 1 in 8 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. Prostate cancer can have over a 99% 5-year relative survival rate when caught at a localized or regional stage. If you're 40 or over and have a prostate, visit relaxitsabloodtest.com to see if a PSA blood test is right for you. Talk to your doctor about screening and the next steps. Sponsored by Novartis.
Hey guys, Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central here to make sure your business and property parking lots are kept available from any unwanted cars taking up your spots with Schroeder's Towing. For instance, you're coming in hot to the game studios for your show and you park next door in an unauthorized lot with signage that was provided for free from Schroeder's Towing. Next thing you know, the show is in the books and your car is out of the lot. It really is that simple. That's a true story. Call Schroeder's today and keep those unwanted cars out of your lots. Online at schroederstowing.net.
Just dial pound 250 and use the keyword tow truck.
Schroeder's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town.
When you're looking for Gamecock merchandise, always think Gamecock Traditions. Style, selection, quality, and the absolute best pricing. That's always the Gamecock Traditions way. Right now, score Champion crewneck sweats for just $44.99. Need a hoodie? Champion hooded sweats are only $54.99. That's $8 to $10 less than any other Gamecock store. And they keep them in stock. Sizes small through triple extra large, all the best colors. Gamecock Traditions in Lexington, Sand Hills Village, or online at GamecockTraditions.com. OHarris.com. Great gear, better prices always. Get ready to shamrock your St. Patty's Day with festivities at O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. Join them Saturday, March 14th for an all-day party under the Big Top, starting at noon with Brandon Mullis. As the sun sets, local favorites Prettier Than Matt and Tokyo Joe will take the stage for a special joint set from 6 to 10 that you absolutely don't want to miss. But the celebration doesn't stop there. Return on St. Patrick's Day, Tuesday, March 17th for Columbia's most authentic Irish experience. Enjoy another all-day event of delicious food, lively fun, and fantastic music featuring the Cash Money Experience. Don't miss out on the ultimate St. Patty's Day parties at Columbia's only Irish pub, O'Hara's Public House in Lexington. For more details on all the Shamrock Festival events, visit O'HarrisPH.com. Cheers to a full day of Irish charm.
Are you a small business owner, a church, or other entity in need of a new HVAC system? AAA Heating and Air has exciting news for you. AAA Heating and Air now offers financing to qualified organizations to aid them in installing a new light commercial HVAC system. It's as easy as calling 803-677-1500 for a quote or finding them online at callAAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips with 107.5 sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Looking for a dealership that treats you like family? Come to Herndon Chevrolet, where we've been proudly serving Lexington and the Midlands for over 50 years. Whether you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle or just need expert service, you'll find it all right here. Shop online anytime at HerndonChevy.com or stop by and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Want to unlock the power of athlete marketing to grow your business? Garnet Trust has recently launched a business membership program, making it easier than ever for your business to work directly with a USC student athlete. Visit GarnetTrust.com today or call 803-250-1765 to see your business boom.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Through the good, through the bad, through the ugly, you've been the cornerstone in our program. You are the reason why we are as successful as we are. Believe it or not, you created a home court advantage well before we were pretty good at basketball and put the product on the floor that you could be truly proud of. So we thank you. We thank you for hanging in there with us. We thank you, through not having the best results in the tournament in Greenville, but we got a lot of basketball left in us.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Ed and Wes Mitchell with you on your Monday here on the game. Don Staley last night at the bracket reveal party talking to the fams and appreciating all their support this year as South Carolina, again, didn't have the result we wanted in Greenville a little over a week ago to wrap up the conference tournament, but they got bigger fish to fry as they head into the NCAA once again as a number 1 seed, not the number 1 overall seed, but a 1 seed nonetheless in Region 4 with the Sacramento side of the bracket. And last night we learned what that side of the bracket was going to look like, very much in line with, I think, what Charlie Kareem had as far as bracketology leading into the weekend. Iowa, TCU, the 3, Oklahoma, the 4, a potential for a rematch with either Clemson or Southern California coming up in the second round. So a lot of familiarity on South Carolina's side of the bracket that gets rolling this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I would say, Tyler, for the most part, don't you feel like the bracket, especially in terms of like the top seeding, the ones where South Carolina's headed, all those things, kind of very much in line with what's been reported, like kind of what we expected. I would say the biggest surprise is just that, as Chris Wellbaum pointed out, the selection committee might actually have a little bit of a sense of humor about them, sending Southern Cal and Clemson here. Is I literally just said wow. Wow was the word that came out of my mouth when I saw the name Clemson pop up on the reveal. So that's interesting. Obviously Southern Cal is not local, but from what Wellbaum said, also he feels like there's a little bit of a sense of, because there's this reporting that charter flights may be limited, and that there's a little bit of a push to maybe keep some teams as localized as possible. So, that'll be cool, man, to have Clemson in this regional. South Carolina knows their path right now. Obviously, you got a little bit of a revenge game potentially down the line with Oklahoma, a team that did, that was Oklahoma's defining win of the season, was beating South Carolina there at home. So, the Gamecocks going to want some get back on that one. But, I don't know if you really have too many complaints right now. It's kind of what you expected if you're South Carolina. And, a little bit interesting to me, it feels like, maybe somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the Gamecocks have played on Fridays most of the time in recent years. This time you have a Saturday tip-off, which, will obviously be a little bit different.
Yeah, as far as I can remember, they usually open up things on Friday. But yeah, Saturday tip. Again, against either Southern or Samford, they'll be playing in the play-in coming up on Thursday to decide who's going to be playing in that game. And then you have Carolina wins that. They'll take on the winner of Clemson and Southern Cal, which would put that game sometime on Monday. So we could have a middle-of-the-day game between, South Carolina and Clemson, over there at CLA, which I don't think they'll have any problems packing the place out for that one. If that it was against, again, Southern Cal, good team as well. That obviously, funny enough, Carolina played those two teams in back-to-back games earlier on this year. But when you look across this bracket as a whole and you go to the other side that they're matched up with the Sacramento bracket, that there's a lot of familiarity there as well of teams that you've played this year. And so there's a potential for a lot of rematches that Carolina could be dealing with from now through hopefully Phoenix in the Final Four.
Yeah, no doubt. And there are even rematches in this thing, not for South Carolina, but for other teams in round one. NC State playing Tennessee. Tennessee getting in as a 10 seed, which, I thought was interesting. So, Dawn Staley said she didn't really have any complaints about the bracket. I think it's about what we expected. In terms of the ones, a lot of times there's arguments about who should be, who shouldn't be. It was really more just about what's the order going to be. And I think UConn being the number one overall seed, I think you certainly could argue that UCLA had the better resume. But UConn just does look like the best team. Like, I think if you look at what they've done all season long. So, South Carolina, in theory, would if they both keep winning, would face UConn at the Final Four. And, essentially it seems like that SEC championship game came down to who was going to be, you're fighting for the 3 spot or the 4 spot, South Carolina or Texas. And Tyler, I'm guessing Vic has no complaints about them getting a home game with the Fort Worth regional, since he has such a problem with in-state neutral site, in quotes, games for teams.
Yeah, it's funny how that, when the shoe's on the other foot, he doesn't complain about that one as much. But look, we know when you get into this tournament, obviously you're going to end up seeing some of the best teams in the entire country if we want to go all the way. And I brought this point up earlier. I think this is, at least in my time here, maybe the most, I don't want to say apprehension, but the most, I'd say, concern maybe you've had going in, considering some of the ups and downs this team has had, the losses they've had to teams like Oklahoma, having a bad start to the game against Texas. Like, we've seen this team not look its best at times. And again, all it takes is one loss and you're done in this thing. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out over the course of the tournament. But again, our expectations going in every single year is, okay, you're going to be in the Final Four. Can you get to the national championship and win it? And again, it's not going to be easy getting there, but we always, of course, have faith Dawn Staley is going to be the coach to lead them that far.
Well, and it just shows you what the expectations are here, Tyler. I mean, the fact that you can say that sentence and it's true, and you're talking about one of the top 4 teams in the country. Like, if can you imagine the buzz if the men were among the top 4 teams in the country right now? If the football team was among the top 4 teams, like that means you are obviously among elite company, that you're an elite team and elite program. And so it just shows you how different the expectations are here for this team. And I think here's the thing, man. If this team plays to their potential, where it's one of those things where, for the most part, they're getting their best ball from most of this roster. They can win the whole thing. But I think the scary part is, to your point, like, it's very early still. We'll see how this thing plays out. I can't help but think that Okot is going to be the key to how far does South Carolina goes. If she gets caught up in the moment and, hey, this is the biggest stage I've ever played in, and is missing layups and stuff like that, then I think South Carolina becomes very vulnerable. If she is playing like I'm the best player in the country, because at times she actually, when she is on fire, she is unstoppable.
Sure.
And so I think you're going to need to try to empower her. And Joyce Edwards, too. Go be like Cardoso her final year and just, I'm the best player on this floor. Go take over. I felt like both of them late in the SEC tournament looked a little bit just caught up in the gravity of the moment, when really they are two of the most talented people on any floor they're ever going to step on.
Yeah, and also, how your freshmen play, right? And something Dawn Staley talked about or was asked about last night, that, for these girls that have gone through a lot of big games this year, there's something different about the tournament. So McKeer, Isla McDowell, Turnabis, like, how are they going to deal with their first, look at the tournament? We've seen, Joyce Edwards had some ups and downs in the tournament last year. On the other side, Tessa Johnson's turned into tournament Tessa, her freshman year in the NCAA tournament. So you're looking for everybody to obviously step up and play their best, and we'll see what having, the past a little over a week off to get refreshed and ready to go is going to do for this team that, again, plays on Saturday against either Southern or Samford to start things off, and then would match up with either Clemson or Southern California coming up next Monday in the second round. But excited and can't wait to follow it.
Yep, no doubt, man. And we'll have, obviously, complete coverage right here and complete coverage on Gamecock Central as well.
We'll come back, wrap up the hour. How do we do on buy or sell over the weekend? Ooh, not so great. I'll go ahead and tell you. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game.
All my sports. The Game Network. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 96.9 The Game in Charleston. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5 The Game in Florence.
This hour of in-show listening on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by QC Kinetics in West Columbia, the non-surgical regenerative orthopedic specialists of the Midlands. Request your consultation today by dialing pound 250 and use keyword QC Kinetics.
This is a Westwood One Sports Minute.
ABS needs to come to the next World Baseball Classic. You can't have a classic game like the United States beating the Dominican Republic 2-1 on Sunday night. You can't have it end in the fashion that it did. Terrible strike three calls in the 8th and the 9th against the Dominican Republic. Now, it's not the only reason that DR lost, can't run the bases at all, but it just goes to show, need ABS at the next WBC. I'm Nick Costos.
Furnished by IntelliBrands. Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Get an Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact. Improve your flexibility and balance. Strengthen and tone your legs.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better, and it makes me feel stronger too.
My circulation is moving. I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
It's so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. And for a limited time, get a free upgrade to our deluxe bundle with a faster motor, sport mat, and wireless remote. Call 800-555-1212. That's 800-555-1212. 800-555-1212 now. These statements and products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
Don't let the insurance companies intimidate you. We'll take them to court. We got a $2.4 million verdict for a client who was hurt in a car wreck. Good heavens, dial all sevens now.
To get your attorney, dial 800 all sevens now.
The Anastapula Law Firm has been recovering millions for their clients for over 30 years. Their South Carolina personal injury attorneys have experience fighting for the rights of their clients. Remember, don't scream, call Akeem. Dial 800 all sevens now.
Herb Glass is responsible for this ad, and cases are handled at 32 Ann Street, Charleston, South Carolina 29403. Paid endorsement, not actually client. Results may vary.
My family just went for something to do on a nice spring Saturday, and wow.
You want fun?
You want adventure? You need to experience Tartan Day South Celtic Festival, built by Culpeper Wood. Check out the Highland Games, strongman competitions that will make you want to put on a kilt, concerts, dancing, a parade, a British car show. We've got animal shows, knights in armour, and birds of prey that kids will love. Learn about the Celtic influence on our nation's founding as we celebrate 250 years. But there's so much more. The fun starts with a rocking and rollicking Celtic concert, Friday, March 27th at the Icehouse Amphitheatre, that will make you get up and dance. Then celebrate with a full day of festivities on Saturday at the historic Columbia Speedway. Kids under 12 getting free, March 27th and 28th. Get your tickets now at tartandaysouth.com. We promise you're going to love it.
It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. My kids and I were blown away.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit cantycanfixit.com.
The Gamecock Central Takeover Hour with Tyler Head, along with Chris Clark and Wes Mitchell from Gamecock Central. Sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Call or text 803-404-6100 on the Game Network and on the 107.5 The Game app.
Welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Head and Wes Mitchell along with you here on your Monday, wrapping up the hour on the game. Coming up next, it is the halftime show. Scott Hamilton taking the reins from 12 until 3. He'll talk plenty about the NCAA brackets as well as what happened with baseball over the weekend. Tomorrow, though, we will be out at USC Pro Day once again, like we've done the past couple years. Get to see everybody work out for the NFL scouts, and hopefully, like the past couple seasons, we'll be able to grab a coach or two and get some insight into what's been going on in the through spring practice so far. As it did get rolling back again today after having last week off, and again, I think is it Wednesday that we're gonna hear from Beamer, or is that tomorrow like normal? Do you know?
I don't know if we hear from Beamer this week.
Okay, maybe it's not this week. We hear from somebody this week.
Coordinators today.
Okay, coordinators today.
We have Pro Day tomorrow.
Right.
You know, we'll be live out there. Hopefully we'll be able to sit down with a couple of them. And then live viewing period for the media Wednesday morning practice, and then players speak after practice on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. There's your updated schedule, and we'll get all that sound. And again, hopefully grab some guys coming up tomorrow like we've done the past couple of years. I want to hit buy or sell from over the weekend. Oh, I don't think we did all that great, all things considered. Well, you got the first one right because I said that Talmadge LeCroy had 5 straight games with RBIs. Could that continue on the weekend? And, well, when you only score in one game in one inning, that kind of tells you that ended up happening.
RBIs
yeah, the team.
On the first 2.
Yeah, so you won with that one by selling. I bought that one. Number 2 was, could South Carolina be error-free in at least one game? Funny enough, they did have no errors in Friday and Sunday. Now, there were a couple of plays that could have been errors, and, of course, the biggest error of the weekend was Patrick Evans dropping the pop fly in game number 2, but they did actually, all things considered, come away relatively clean in the field, though there are some things that are debatable as errors or not.
Yeah, true, but I'm going to take that win and move on with it, Tyler.
Yeah, I know you will. Just kind of running through it here. For SEC baseball, 5 ranked teams went on the road this past weekend. The buy or sell was at least 3 of them would lose. 4 of the 5 lost. Auburn at Missouri, who got a clean sweep, was the only ranked team to go on the road and win this weekend. I believe they're the only road team in the entire SEC that won their series this weekend because I believe the other ones went 0-7.
Jeez. Did you watch Tennessee and Georgia?
I did. In fact, so you probably saw the TV call of it, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard the local radio call?
No, it's good.
I'll play it for you. These are the people that I used to work with in Athens, Jeff Dantzler and David Johnson, and I knew they would have a very impassioned call. Here it is.
Bird in the 8th. Here's the 0-1. Hit deep out into left field. This has got a shot. It is going to be... He went over the wall! Johnson with one of the greatest catches in Georgia history, and the Dogs win 8-7.
In and of itself, it's already a great catch and a great play. But when you couple it with the fact that Stone Lawless had one of the nastiest bat flips you've ever seen, only to seconds later be humbled by the ball being caught, phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm all for let the boys play or whatever the line is, but man, you cannot do. That's not even a bat flip; it was a bat slam.
Yeah, like a spike. Yeah, because he thought it was gone.
Spike.
Yeah,
you cannot do that if the ball is not out. Like you got to see it through, man. What a play by that Georgia kid, though. That what was that one of the best catches in Georgia history, or is that a little bit in the moment?
I'm struggling to think of one that's better than that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they would know the full history better than I would, but I can't think of anything else that rivals, especially considering the fact it's top of the ninth, that won you the game, won you the series. Like, a lot at stake on that one.
Yeah, no, that was pretty nasty, and obviously the whole thing went viral because of not just because of the play, but because of the spike, as you eloquently put.
Buy or sell number 4. By the way,
so what did we do on that in terms of buy or sell? Did either of us get it right?
We both bought on that, so we were correct. Buy or sell for number 4 was Ari Rodi getting at least 2 home runs. She only had 1 in her last 13 games. 0 for on the weekend in terms of home runs for her. Carolina did end up sweeping Boston College, including a crazy ending to game number 3 yesterday.
Yeah, dude, they're playing obviously a little different competition the last 4 games, but they played very well. Tori Inslee, big RBI triple down to their final strike, tied it up, and then Tate Davis, RBI single a couple of pitches later to win the game. So good momentum for them. Tyler, we'll hopefully hear from Ashley Chastain Woodard this week. They have a massive series. LSU number 25 Softball America poll. They are coming to Columbia this weekend.
Yep. And again, Ari Rodi, no home runs there, so we didn't get that one right. And the final one, would more than 10 teams get into the NCAA tournament from the SEC? We both bought. The correct answer is sell, as only 10 teams got in, with Oklahoma and Auburn being in the first 4 out, as no matter how much Bruce Pearl, petitioned for it, his son's team did not get in.
So awkward, man.
It's weird.
It's just awkward. Yeah, so if they had expanded the tournament like they keep talking about, then obviously both of those would have got in.
And see, where's the drama in that? Where's the fun in that, right? Like, I think we got a good hard cutoff at 68, where teams like that 17 and 16, you're not good enough to get in, have fun in the NIT as the number 1 seed.
Yeah, and dude, Auburn, if you look at their final, 10 or 12 games, like, not good at all.
No, falter down the stretch. That didn't help them.
They don't deserve to be in. Like,
no.
I think we all agree on that, unless your first name is Bruce.
Yeah, and again, for a team that was in the Final Four a year ago, it's not like you were going to go deep in this thing, so maybe having a shot at running the table in the NIT will suit you better. So we'll see. But that'll do it for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tomorrow from 9 until 12, going to be out at USC Pro Day talking a lot of football. We'll mix in some baseball and basketball as well. As a halftime show coming up next with Scott Hamilton here on The Game.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet studio. Herndon Chevrolet is your hometown dealer. Stop by today or shop online 24/7 at herndonchevy.com.
Hey, our friends at Integrated Media, 803-948-8327 or integratedmediainc.com. Go ahead. I know you've been thinking about it. I know you've been dreaming about it. That man cave, that home theater system, that media room in your house that you've been envisioning. Maybe you've sketched it out. Maybe you've just got it in your head. Call them and tell them what you're thinking. They're going to bring it to a reality. For me, they've been at my house. They've been at Chris's house. For me, it was a little bit more, just logistics, a little bit more, not as fun, frankly. They came out and ran Ethernet to make sure that everything was great in my home office. But the next step for me Let them come out, hang a TV, surround sound, hide the wires, and go all in on turning that extra room into that man cave you've all dreamed of. Whatever it is out of those things we just talked about that you need, they're going to do it for you. IntegratedMediaInc.com today.
New tires do more than keep you rolling. They make every drive smoother, quieter, and more efficient. At Wetzel's Automotive, we carry top brand tires to fit your vehicle and every budget. As your neighborhood shop, we take time to mount, balance, and align them the right way so you'll enjoy better handling and longer tire life. Plus, free rotations with your tire purchase help you get the most miles out of every set. For friendly service and trusted care, visit us at 2017 Augusta Road in West Columbia or online at wetzelsauto.com.
This is Larry Leitner, owner and founder of Midstate Roofing, and for nearly 30 years, we've continued to be the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. Midstate Roofing's proven history is your assurance that our professionals at Midstate Roofing will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner both safe and pleasing to your operation. From high-rise to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Midstate Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that will keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And this is Blake Leitner, reminding you to protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call me today at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. That's midstateroofing.com.
Can you hear me? You'll speak to an on-call technician after hours or a Midstate Roofing staff member during hours at 803-356-1919 or online at midstateroofing.com. And as always, tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
There are many reasons to hire Morgan & Morgan for your injury case. Here's reason 17. In today's new world, many law firms have had money injected into their firms by Wall Street, private equity, and other lenders. This money usually comes in at very, very high interest rates. It's one of the reasons you see so many lawyers advertising. I'm John Morgan. This money is expensive and the interest compounds quickly. These law firms can have a huge need for cash just to pay that debt. Why does it matter to you? My fear is your case is settled early and for far less than it's worth, just to service the loan that has mafia-like rates.